Welcome in Dynasty, girls and guys. Welcome into the Boom Bust Dynasty show. Today, Monday, July 27th. Oh my gosh, it is late in July. 7:30 p.m. Central Time. We are ready. We got a big night, a big show tonight. We already have 14 trade questions in the queue. So we're going to jump right to one of those. We've got a team review in the queue. If you guys are looking to get your trade questions answered, your team reviewed, now's the time to get it in, to get that in the queue so that we can get to you right in order. Now we've got a trade question that came in right at the end of our final show. I'm going to do a better job, or our last show, not our final show, our last show last Wednesday. And I'm going to do a better job on this show to double, triple check that we've covered everything at the end. But let's get this one on the screen for CET Prodigy 13. We'll set this trade live. It should be popping up on your screen on the TikTok feed, on the YouTube feed. Let me make sure that I've got my handy dandy notebook and a pencil. I guess I'll use this one. Oh, there's a pencil over there to take some notes as we go through these. Here is the trade on the screen. We've got the scoring settings for this league. It's a 12-team, 1 quarterback, start 9, PPR, no tight end premium. Which side of this deal do you guys want to be on? I have a feeling where I want to be. You guys let me know which side of this deal you would be taking. This manager who sent in the trade has Ken Walker. They have Derrick Henry. If you're on the Twitch and on the YouTube feeds, you can just see that right over here. I'll bring my finger onto the TikTok screen, onto the TikTok feed and say, it's right over there. It's right over there. You would just have to check on a different site where we can put more things on the screen. So they've got running backs, like they have Jahmyr Gibbs. Are we all right with moving on from Ken Walker for Travis Etienne and a first? I think so. I think so. You're getting a pretty good value. Lucas is saying, hello, give me the first and ETN. And I think it says, what does it say, late first? It says 29 late first on the actual trade, but 2029 is far enough away that we don't actually know if it's an early first. We don't know if it's a late first. We don't know if it's a middle first. Rygal says people are moving 29s already. Yeah, I would move 29s. I would trade for a 29, but I'm really only doing that, Rye, in a situation where I'm not waiting until 2029 to make the pick. And I don't think you have to. And this is a video idea that I've been kicking around a little bit in my mind. Like the 27 firsts are already really expensive. I might tell people trade for 28 firsts because they're cheaper and they're going to do the same thing. You don't have to wait until 2028. You could trade for a 28 first right now and then just trade it away next year for more. So I would be okay taking the 29 first, knowing that next year it'll be worth more. I don't have to wait the multiple years to do it. TPQR, when are you doing redraft? I mean, if you have redraft questions, you can put them in the chat. If you guys are looking for redraft content, we have that on YouTube already. We started up with that with mock drafts and things. And I got to say, it is not hitting the mock draft video. So we'll try to come up with some other thing for redraft content. But we're already making that pivot. On this deal, let's double back here. On this deal, I am okay with sending Ken Walker for HN and the 29 first. You can wait until you end up using that 29 first. You could pair this 29 first with a 27 first and people will like that more. You can then do things here to get more back on your team. I'm getting enough value here and I like HN. I kind of like HN a bit more than the market does compared to Ken Walker, where I like probably a teensy bit less than the market does. So I would be okay with making this deal. I'm going to give the slight edge to Travis Etienne and the first. And if you didn't want to do this with the team that you have, Prodigy, you got Gibbs, Walker, Derrick Henry, Tony Pollard, I'd say like that's also fine. That's also fine. I think I would take the risk and just go HN and know that I can move that 29 first and come away with more value though. Let's get the next one on the screen. And before we put that one on the screen, let's show if you guys are trying to get your trade questions answered on here. Here's how we do it. We do not pull them from the chat because you just saw we had like an overlay of the trade and the team and the league scoring. And I can't, those get made on the fly. I can't just make them from your messages. We do them from our website. Here's how it works. We're going to go, it's a super quick demo. Here's our website, boombustfantasy.com. You come here. If you don't have an account, you just click get started. And you can also click this if you have an account. It's very easy to make your account. It's just your Gmail. You could also just use your Discord. I'm already logged into Gmail in this instance of Google Chrome. I just hit continue with Google. I picked my account. Looks like I wasn't logged in, so please don't steal my password. I almost hit show password. That would have been a bummer. And there, the account is created. You type in your sleeper username, and it's going to, once you hit continue, it'll go pull all of the leagues that you're in. All you have to do from here is pick the one that you want to build a trade from. You can change this at any point. Here, I'll click Boom Bust 3, one of the startups we did last year. You hit continue. You can link this to your Discord if you use Discord to post your trades there very easily rather than having to. I got a message today from someone who sent probably 7 screenshots of their team and then extra notes. Like, if you guys are doing your trade questions that way, you can just connect your Discord here and post your trade questions directly to Discord from the trade advice page. So if you wanted to get your question on the show, you just type in your trade question here. Josh Allen. It works like any trade calculator for a 27 first. If you want to submit that for the show, you hit request expert review. All new accounts and existing accounts have trade credits, so it does not cost anything to do this. Or if you just wanted to post it to Discord, if you have that linked, you can click the post to Discord right here and then click the button and it'll post it as a poll to Discord and people will be able to, it'll get posted with a link and people will be able to see your team and see your league's rosters and see your scoring. That's how we get these overlays, as I'm about to switch back to the trade view and show the next trade on the show coming in from OnlyFans, who submitted his question through the site. That's how we build this. That's how we build the roster that shows up on the Twitch and YouTube. Jacob, thank you for the follow. Exact. Before we do this one, we've also got a question from Zach. Trade value of Jalen Hurts in a 2 QB. You should be able to search that on the YouTube. So we'll have, that's probably the easiest way to find the videos. I know we've covered Jalen Hurts multiple times in our trade value videos. If he's on your team, you could also do this. Actually, let's pivot back to that because here's another tool. We'll jump back to this. We'll come right back here. Here's the show being made live. Zach, we'll come right back to that. Let's finish off this trade and then we'll go to Zach's question. We'll come back to Zach's question. Welcome in, Juju. Welcome back, bud. OnlyFans 18, a 12-team Superflex Start 9 PPR league. Which side of this deal do you want to be on? We've got 2 young players, Tet and Carnell Tate, could be the future of the league. On the other side, we've got a couple older players. I think Olave and Garrett Wilson are from the same draft class. Is that right? Oh no says Olave side more stable, Tet side higher upside and lower floor. It's about where I'm about to go with this. We do have more upside on the Carnell Tate side. But the Garrett Wilson and Olave side is also pretty stable. Just like we were saying earlier, I'm probably going to be looking at trading for 28 firsts on rebuilds. Because they will just go up in value year over year. It's hard to get your 27 firsts to for sure go up in value because they're already hitting the top of the market. People are so hyped for this draft class. They're already expensive. You're not getting a massive gain. Or maybe people are going to overvalue these prospects once they become draft picks. I might just be looking for 28s and then I trade those 28s for players next year to teams that are rebuilding. I think this is okay. And this is one where we're just looking at like, hey, which side of this deal do you want to be on? If I have Tet and Carnell Tate, am I moving them in this deal for this team? For OnlyFans, he's got Jaden Daniels, Bo Nix. He's got quarterbacks. His running backs get a little bit thin. So if we're trying to rebuild draft picks, he's just got Bijan and then David Montgomery and Pollard. I think this is an okay move. I don't think this is a horrible thing to be doing. Tet and Tate, but you're swapping for 2 other pretty good wide receivers. You're losing some youth, but you get that draft pick back to help you rebuild some running backs. I don't know that I hate it. I don't know that you have to do it right now. We can wait and see, is this team contending with David Montgomery? That's probably the only thing that I would add here. It's like, I don't know that we have to do this right now. If we're looking at similar production between the players, but one side loses youth and has a 28 first on there, I think I'd be okay with sitting on this one and then come back to it later. But it feels pretty even. I mean, even with a little bit more value on the older player side. Okay, we said we would come back to a couple other questions from the chat. Like, here we go. We have two questions that we can actually answer in the same way. Zach Tiernan, trade value of Jalen Hurts in a 2 quarterback and bullets. If you're trying to unload Neighbors, what are you trying to get back? What we have for questions like that is on our site. We have our trade builder. I'm logged in. It's using one of my leagues. I have that set right up here on our website, boombustfantasy.com. Let's set it to, here's a league where I'm pretty sure I have Malik Neighbors in this league. What we have is our trade builder where I do have Malik Neighbors. And what this does is it pulls up your team on the side and you can say like, hey, what could I get if I want to move a specific player? Here's a league where I have Malik Neighbors. We are consistently pulling real trade values from actual Dynasty trades that are happening. And what you can do is just click on the player you want to move. So let's say I want to move Malik Neighbors and I'll pair him with DeAndre Swift. And what this is doing as we're clicking and adding players is it's going through the actual rosters in my league and building out trade packages. If you want to move Neighbors and Swift for one player, it says it's even value for Trey McBride based on our league scoring. If I wanted to make sure that I got a wide receiver back in the deal, we can set it so that it's going to add a wide receiver back. It would say Amon-Ra St. Brown is okay for that package. So for questions like the trade value of Jalen Hurts in a 2 quarterback, just sync a 2 quarterback league to the site and then build trades involving Jalen Hurts. Same thing with Malik Neighbors. So rather than just who am I looking to get back, this builds those trades for you. It'll build out packages of 1 player. You can hit show more. It'll build out packages of 2 players, and we set it so that it's going to include a wide receiver in these packages. So it says Tet McMillan and Chris Olave for Neighbors and Swift because there's still the upside of Malik Neighbors. So that's what we've got for questions like those. Any option in the future to download league settings from a Yahoo league? Yeah, Tyler, we're going to look to add that in August going into the season, but that's not confirmed. I'm just one guy. So we'll try our best to get Yahoo and ESPN added in, but there's no promises. Let's take a look at the next deal from Dan Acker. It's loading up, and we'll keep up with the messages on the chat as well. Here's a trade question coming in from Dan Acker in a Dynasty League, 12-team Superflex, start 10, PPR half-point tight end premium. Which side of the deal do you guys want to be on? Because take a look at Dan's team. He's got 3 quarterbacks. I don't know that we need 3. And this is a team that can contend. We've done a team review for this team. Tyler Shuck and Wan'Dale Robinson for Ladd McConkey and a 27 second. I think if I'm doing a deal like this, my holdups would be, or like the general rules I use in trading. Oh no is saying the Ladd side. I think I'm okay with the Ladd side. I kind of like sticking with the concept of I want to move the worst piece, and that's not what's happening here. The Ladd player gets to turn a second into Wan'Dale for taking a slight down tier from Ladd to Tyler Shuck, but maybe they believe in Tyler Shuck more than I do. So I will say that like I like moving the worst piece. And if we can't do that, if we could rephrase this trade as like Tyler Shuck and something else to get to Ladd McConkey, I might like that a tiny bit more, like Shuck and Jalen Warren for Ladd McConkey. That's one of the players they have. I could look at doing something like that more. Like there's trades that I would prefer to doing this one. And this is a very even deal. The only responses that I'm seeing in the chat are just, oh no, saying you would take the Ladd side. And Ladd does have the best player. I think Ladd has really good upside with Mike McDaniels there. I personally am not a massive Shuck believer. I don't often stray too far from the market though. Like I don't love Tyler Shuck, but I'm not really going to sell him low. And I will believe that I could be wrong. He could be a good rushing quarterback. And I'd call this one even and say, if you take the lat side, I don't hate it, but I might hold on and see, can I get a deal that allows me to move some of these other things that we want to move? Or I wouldn't take this deal unless I knew I had something lined up, or it was reasonable to expect that I would be able to move this second round pick with one of the other wide receivers that I have. Can I move it with Garrett Wilson for an up tier? Can I move this second round pick with Dalton Kincaid to move on from him? So I would be, Dan, I would be thinking about the follow-ups on this trade, just because we've looked at your team before. And I know you have some guys that, like, we have Dalton Kincaid as a second tight end. I'd probably like to also move that into our starting lineup. It doesn't have to happen in this deal, but I want to know, like, hey, does this make that follow-up deal easier to do if I now have an extra second? Can I move Kincaid in 2 seconds and get something good back? So I don't hate it on its own, but we're definitely okay with doing it if the follow-ups exist. Let's jump to, we'll do 2 more trades, and then we've got a team review in the queue for today. You guys are looking to get your trades added to the queue? It's right here on the TikTok feed. Trade and team reviews. There's our site where you post them. I see some in the chat. We don't pull Dynasty trade questions from the chat because they can't be turned into graphics like this one. Here we go. We got OnlyFans, 12 teams, Superflex Start 9. We have already looked at one from an OnlyFans. In this league, are we moving Brock Bowers and Bashal Tutin? 4. Are we getting enough back here? Ted McMillan, Terry McLaurin, Kenyon Sadiq, and a 28 second. This says 12 teams. The notes here say 12 teams, Superflex play 11. But this is the team sending away. It says it's a start 9 on my end. So we'll get some confirmation from them if they're in the chat. Is this a start 9 or a start 11? But would I be fine with moving this package to get Bowers and Tutin? Moving Terry, moving a second, moving Kenyon Sadiq and Ted McMillan? I don't think it's too much to pay. I don't think it's too much. I kind of like Kenyon Sadiq. I like the upside of him. We've already moved our 27th first in this league. This is a 28 second going out. Let's see, we're getting Bashal Tutin back because we have Bijan and Montgomery and Pollard. I think this was one of the trades where they were saying they would move Tet and Carnell Tate in a deal. Are we that strong of a contender with this team that Brock Bowers is the difference maker? It's kind of what we're looking at. And Bowers and Tutin, I don't think this is too bad for the consolidation. The thing that would break it down, the thing that would break this for me would be, let's see, we got TPQR saying you would want Bowers. I think I'm okay with taking Bowers, and then if we tiered down from Bowers, that like maybe I like the moves that you can make from there more than having Terry. I don't feel like we're heavily overpaying here to get Brock Bowers. So I'm gonna say I'm okay with the Bowers side. We've got some trades coming in. We're at 14 in the queue. Let's cover a couple of the questions from the chat, and I did see one about how to submit a team review, and then we'll do a team review. Like MST Pong, how can I get you to review my team? It's right here on our site. It's right here on our site, boombustfantasy.com. Once you've created your account, you just go to Team Advice. In the top right, if you click on the profile, it lets you pick all of the leagues that you're in. And then you hit Request Team Review, and it adds it to our queue. Let's go through a team review. That rhymes quite a bit. I need to make some notes for the follow-up. And let's go, actually, I'll pull one up, do a little bit of the housekeeping for the show. We'll take a look at a team review. We'll talk about how these work. Because we go pretty in depth here on the live stream. And then there's a follow-up that There's a follow-up that shows up. Ooh, this is going to break the show. If I hit this, does it show? Where is that? Shows an instance of Firefox that doesn't exist. So let's do this. Part of making the show involves a lot of different browser windows open and then showing those browsers. So let's fix that right now. Looks like this one got closed. Here's our team review. We'll get it on the screen right here. Swap this to show a team. So someone submitted this team for review last week. You could submit your team on our site, boombustfantasy.com. Is this the one? Yes, it is. And we'll get this added into the TikTok feed. There we go. So we've got our My League page for the team. Hard Knocks. This is coming in from, I'm pretty sure, from Toshi Gang. I play in a league with Toshi Gang, but I am not in this league. I do recognize the picture, though. Grab a timestamp for this. 23 minutes. So what we are going to do with our team reviews is we will take a look at your league scoring. We're going to go through position by position, and we give a rating, 0 through 4 stars. You can have a team that just doesn't really have any running backs. I have a team that doesn't really have any running backs. I have Ollie Gordon of the Miami Dolphins. That's a 0. We'll give a rating of a combination of expected production from the position as well as tradable value from that position. And we give a 0 through 4 star rating. You'll get a feel for them as we go through these. And then we'll talk as well. We'll do it for every position: quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, tight ends. I just drew that pencil, as well as future picks. And then what we'll do after that is we'll go through the state of the league and gauge, like, hey, are you contending this year? Is it realistic to contend next year? And so on. And then we'll take a look at some potential trades based on the rosters in the league, and then what you'll get afterwards. So we'll talk about some of these. I'll make some notes of trade ideas, and then I go through and build out way more trades. So you'll get the live show video right now, and then a link back to the live to catch up on it. And then we also have a write-up of each team review here that will show up on the site under my advice. So for you guys, it'll show trade questions you've submitted. It'll show team reviews you've submitted. We'll go through the team reviews here. It's going to show all of the ones that I've done. So let's grab like here. We've got the marching orders, or like the outlook for the next couple of years, my general thoughts and ideas of what I would be doing with this team, the snapshot of the team at that current time, and then all down the side, suggested trade packages I would be sending with what I'm trying to do in this trade or ways that I might tweak that given trade. So that will come out within the next 24 hours after the team review. I have to go and type it up. So let's get to it. We've got Hard Knocks. The submitter here says CJ. I'm pretty sure I know him as Toshi Gang, unless I'm completely wrong, but that's not gonna matter for what we're about to do. Let me make sure I've got the timestamp 2440. And let's get into it. This is a 12-team, 1-quarterback league. And the quarterback room that we have is Tyler Shuck, Michael Penix, Shadur Sanders. We have a starter. This might be one of the weakest quarterback rooms in the league. So we're not going to go 0 because we have someone we could be starting, but this is feeling like a 1. I like Tyler Shuck, but is he going to be in a 1-quarterback league 12 or better reliably? I don't think so. I don't know that I am. I don't think that I would have him that way. So if we're just looking at like tradable value, not a lot here. It's possible it goes up, but this is one of the lower tier quarterbacks who could be a starter. After that, we got Penix and Shadur Sanders. Even if these guys get starting jobs this year, I don't see, there's room for potential value rise, but it's not big value rise. It's like, can I trade these guys as a backup to someone else? And the answer to that is, man, I guess maybe. So we're not getting a ton of value here. Running backs. I see 2 solid starters and then maybe one more. We've got Chase Brown, Cam Scatterbo, 2 good solid options. And then Tajay Spears, who probably will have a little bit of value. He can do something. He can do something this year, but we're not getting a lot here. This is looking like we've got two borderline top 12 guys. Maybe Chase Brown's like running back 8, 9, 10 this year. Cam Scatterbo in that range, but slightly less. So I think that's about how I would have this as at running backs. Like, it's a 2. We have okay starters. We have some trade value. These guys are both younger, but there's not a ton more after that. Wide receivers, hopefully we have more here. As I'm reading it, we don't. We've got Ted McMillan and friends. Ricky Pearsall, Travis Hunter, Quentin Johnston. This is looking like a 1. In a league where we have, how many players do we have to start in this league? 9 starters and 1 quarterback. Like, we need depth across some of these positions, and we don't have it. We'll come back to this. It looks like we can add in stuff with the draft picks. We'll get to that in the future. This is a rebuild that we're currently in. Tight ends, Tyler Warren, we're going to call that a 3. Like, we have a good tight end. He's a top 4 tight end in Dynasty. I really like Tyler Warren to be kind of in the same range as Colson Loveland. I think they should be much closer to each other. But they're not right now. But so this is a situation where, like, we've got future value. I think we're going to see more stuff coming back. Ian Murdoch saying this team is rough. That's what we're looking for. Hey, what are some ideas of what I could do with a team that might be rough? There's nothing wrong with having a rough team. It could be someone who took over an orphan team. The team is called Hunter Gatherers. When we're looking at future draft picks, and I'm going to talk about the future draft picks in line with what we have here as our lineup power. Our lineup power is projected scoring based on the players that you have and then the lineup that your league requires. So 1 quarterback, and then we have to come up with 8 other starters on top of that. It's looking pretty weak for Hunter Gatherers. We have a good tight end. We have good tight end production, but we're just not really getting good wide receiver production or amazing quarterback production. This is looking like one of the weaker teams looking at it right now, but we know that we're probably adding in 3 starters with these first round picks, maybe 2 starters with these first round picks. The 106, the 109 are likely people starting for a team like this, so producing more points. I don't know that adding in, who are we getting at the 106? Kenyon Sadiq, Casey Concepcion in a 1 quarterback league, Denzel Boston at the 109 or in that range, or like Omar Cooper. We're adding in some wide receivers, but it's rough. It's rough here. I don't know that that's going to push us into contention for this year. So if we're looking at an outlook for this team, like picks in total, probably a 3, a very good 3. If we had like another 27 first, that would be 4. That'd be amazing. But for 3, we're looking good. Are we contending this year? I don't think so. I think we're still in a rebuild. And I think if we do this right, do we end up with enough value in 2027 to contend? I think we could try. I think we can get there to the point where we're on the verge of getting into the playoffs. Or if you wanted to, and we'll take a look at it. So with a roster like this, we've got, hey, we're not feeling good about this year. If we look at the future value, total dynasty tradable value, like trade market value, we're doing all right. Hunter Gatherers is in the top 3. We are just going to have to wait for some of those picks to come to fruition. We'll have to trade some of that value to make it a much better starting situation. Like Travis Hunter, we don't feel great about. Quentin Johnston, long-term, do we feel amazing about him? Same way with Ricky Pearsall. That all has like tradable value. And that's going to be what we're looking at doing. Most of the trades that we're going to suggest here are trying to find ways to get people to pay you for Ricky Pearsall, to get people to pay you for Travis Hunter, to get people to pay you for Quentin Johnston, and turn that into like either assets that are going to hold their value really well or go up in value. Future picks go up in value. Players that are injured currently go up in value. So that's what we're going to be looking for with this team. And I think this becomes a situation where I'll put together trade ideas right now, but some of them are just more like trade concepts. Players that I don't see on this team that I wish I did are guys like Garrett Wilson, Joe Burrow, Malik Neighbors, Tucker Kraft, all players that have significant injuries last year that we should have been targeting. And I'm not saying that to beat up on anyone, but that's the mindset that we want to go into this year with, is as players get injured and are going to be out for a long time, they should be on this roster because those will go up in value. You'll buy them low. You aren't trying to contend. We just want things that are going to go up in value. So right now, that's like Zach Charbonnet. Zach Charbonnet was the lead back for the Seahawks. Ken Walker was playing behind him. Ken Walker left in free agency and got a good deal, got a good contract and shot up in value. I think we can get something similar with Charbonnet right now. As the season starts up, we're going to be looking for other players that go down to injury. What I want to do and what I'll have as a write-up for this team is we're going to have two different columns. Players that we can easily trade and players that still have value that we may be harder to move. So that'll be taking someone like Isaiah Bond. We're not really getting anything from. He doesn't fall into either one of those categories. Treylon Burks, he's on the team, but he's not in either one of those categories. We're looking at someone like Quentin Johnston. Could be started in this league. Not many people want to trade for them. How do we get them to trade for them? We have to offer up them in deals with Scatabo and Chase Brown. I'd say everyone that's on this team right now probably isn't on the contending version of this team. So we want to be building out packages, and what I'll be looking at is just any sort of combination of, can I move Chase Brown, Ricky Pearsall, and a third? And do I come away with assets that I like? I don't know that I really like Ricky Pearsall. I don't really ever like third round picks. I just want to do as much value cleanup as I can as we're going through these trades. So we'll be looking to move, and I'm okay with moving young players. I get that if you're in a rebuild, you're like, I can't move my young guys, but we don't want to just if we're looking at our current dynasty value of the team and say we have 28,000 in future picks, we have 13,000 in wide receivers, unless we can move Ricky Pearsall, unless we can move Travis Hunter, unless we can move Quentin Johnston, are those guys on the contending version of our team? If they're not, we need to do money laundering and just take that value that we have. This here says 1,800. And if we're looking at that as 13, almost 14,000, that's 2,000 in Pearsall, about 2,000 in Hunter, 2,000 in Quentin Johnston, that we want to clean it up into either picks or things that will be going up in value rather than what they are right now, which is likely value decaying assets that are just going to lose value and tank your team more as you're trying to rebuild it. And the way to do that is pairing it with Tyler Shuck, pairing it with Chase Brown, pairing it with Tyler Warren. People want Tyler Warren, and they will buy this other stuff in a package deal. So that's harder to build trades for. We'll take a look at here, this guy, the blueprint has Colson Loveland. It might be harder to move Tyler Warren to him. This guy has Kyle Pitts. Maybe he wants Tyler Warren. I would be looking at teams that need a tight end, like Lights Camera Ashton. He does not have a tight end. He's got some picks here. Maybe he's going to end up taking someone like Kenyon Sadiq. But if he's not, I'm going to be looking at, can I move Tyler Warren and get back future picks and get more picks? If I'm able to move Warren and who are we saying from your team? We were saying move Warren and Travis Hunter, move Warren and Quentin Johnston. So we'll go through in depth and come up with more trades like those. It's harder to get into the nitty gritty of that on a live show, but basically every trade that I'm going to be looking at for this team is going to follow that concept. And then the other thing that I'll say is, I know we have a couple extra seconds and thirds and fourths in this year. I don't really want those as players on my team. I'm going to be fine if I just move those as kind of tickets to make these other deals go through. So if I need to add a third round pick to get paid in full for Ricky Pearsall and get that as a value riser throughout the year, I'm all right with doing that. And then the main driving force through this year is just trading for players that are injured. trading for players who are in their last year of maybe in the last year of their deal that could be flipping somewhere else. And Charbonnet is just the combination of that. He's injured and unlikely to be on the Seahawks next year and could very easily just be a starting running back somewhere in the league. So we'll come up with trades that get you in that range, as well as just like, here are the rules I follow when I build those trades. And that'll all be in the write-up. But I think if we do enough of that and stack up picks for 2027, there's a shot that this is a team that could contend as early as 2027. Otherwise, we'd have a monster team in 2028. Thank you very much for sending this one in. Let's pivot back to a couple trades. Make some notes for myself. So the Heart Maze coming in for Scuba Steve. And let's check up on, I was not reading chat as we did that. Let's make sure we're not falling behind on the chat. Unapologetic apologist. I think this is a lot of back and forth about a winners and losers bracket. So I think we'll chill on that. Kobe, Mr. Fantasy Football Lives. We've got them on Mondays and Wednesdays right now. MST Pong, can I submit trade advice and just list my roster? I just want recommendations. MST Pong, it shows your roster on the screen. If you just list if you send in trades, we'll answer any trade questions. Do I always take a look at all of the players on your team and say ones that I want to trade away? Sometimes, but not typically. Kenny, when are ESPN leagues added on the site? Sometime in August to September. Zeppo's my favorite pizza. Well, I've never had Zeppo's. It's just one of my favorite pizza-based accounts that follows me. Is JJ McCarthy done? I think so. In general. Dylan says, what strat should I use for pick 4? None. This is one of those ones where I don't know what's the best way to... We started a series on YouTube of, hey, here's all the picks in the draft. Here's how I would draft from those. I don't know the best way to communicate. There's a problem with content creation. We'll go a bit inside baseball for Dylan here. The question is for people, what strat should I use for pick 4? There's no strategies. I've seen videos that do well on YouTube and it's frustrating. It'll be things like, let's rank draft strategies. There's no strategies. Draft strategies are not prescriptive plans going into a draft. You don't get to pick how the other managers in your league draft. Draft strategies are much better descriptors of the team that you end up with. I'm never going into any draft with like a plan of, I need to go wide receiver, then running back, or I need to go running back heavy. You just play what the board gives you. And I don't know how to tell people that. People want to search for best draft strategy. People want to search for like 0 RB. But I think if I was a better content creator, I'd find a way to get the people the information they want in front of them. But the questions that they're asking just aren't good questions. Or maybe that's a bad way to say, like, the question, like, what's the best draft strategy? It's not a question at all. You take the best players available as they fall to you on the board. And then if there's a description of what you wound up with, like, hey, all the running backs went early, so I took late round running backs, and now that's called 0 RB. Like, I think we're just describing what people end up with on their team based on how the draft falls to them. And it's not really wise to go into your draft saying, well, I'm just going to try to do this thing. Because if you go into the draft saying, I'm going to go 0 RB, and then no one's drafting running backs, like, you would be stupid not to take them. But you went in with this plan of like, oh, I got to try the 0 RB. Like, you go with the value that's there. Hayden, should I keep Lad and Scat? I don't know what you're getting offered for them, Hayden. I like Lad. I like Scat. But everything in this is about the values in your league. Who's my favorite receiver next season? Amon-Ra. Maybe Amon-Ra. Of ones that I like more relative to their price. Jalen Waddle is always up there as a favorite for me at their price. Let's pull another trade on the screen. We got one coming in from Maze. I see Maze here. Ooh. site overloaded? We're down. Someone was saying the site was down, and I was using it while we were talking. Okay, that just came through. Maybe it's just overloaded. Because here's the trade coming up. Let's get this one on your guys' screen. Maybe it was just overloaded. We haven't ever seen that. Hit clear overlay, and then see if I can get this one live. Just failed to set live. Come on, come on. Do a little bit of fixing on this. Try to figure out what's going on as we get that sorted. Yeah, it is getting a little bit of activity, but I don't think it's that bad. It should be able to set a trade live on the screen. Come over here. Here we go. We could keep going like this. We got on this deal from Maze and Big Jumbo Dynasty, 12-team Superflex Start 10, PPR, no tight end premium. The trade question, Mike Evans and a second. I like packages of Mike Evans and a second, or Jameson Williams. The notes, does Mike still got it for one more year? Conceptually, this would be me renting Mike and then selling in 2027 after the championship is mine. If you're moving Jameson Williams to get Mike Evans and a second, I don't necessarily hate it. If Jameson Williams repeats what he did last year, like he had a great second half of the year and finished around wide receiver 12, do I think Mike Evans hits wide receiver 12 again? If he does, it's just going to be like red zone work, Brock Purdy throwing a lot of touchdowns, and that wouldn't surprise me. So am I okay with doing this deal? Like, I think I am, but it is just Mike Evans for one more year would be my expectation. Like, I don't think we're getting 2 years of him in San Francisco, even with the contract being a multi-year deal. I think it's very similar to like Stephon Diggs signed a multi-year deal with the Patriots last year and then gets cut after the 1 year based on how the money works. Contracts in football are just a little bit weird like that. So would I be okay with doing this, Maze? If the wide receivers are Amon-Ra St. Brown, Carnell Tate, and then we would have Mike Evans, Christian Watson, Coker, maybe Cooper Kupp is starting, and a lot of options of guys who could become something. I think this is okay. I don't necessarily hate it. What was the pick that you'd be getting back? A 27 second and you don't have one? Maze, yeah, it's a Devontae Adams type player in that range. And we're really just hoping that he gets a season very similar to what Devontae Adams did last year. I guess maybe what I'll say is like, is Mike Adams for sure going to clear Jameson? This is probably where I would end my thought process if this was my team. Is Mike Evans for sure going to clear Jameson Williams? Like, I don't think he did last year in terms of scoring. Didn't Jameson Williams, when all was said and done, finish as wide receiver 12 and Mike Evans would have been past that? So if we're getting similar production, and I guess you get a pick, a 27 pick, but that 27 pick can't get you right back to Jameson Williams. I might hold. I think I'm going to hold. There's value. Maybe you could do more. I feel like we're going to get similar production, and then next year you'll have a 27 second and you would rather have Jameson Williams, and you could just have Jameson Williams. So I'm going to stay. I'm going to stay. Let's hit Colton's trade, and then let's jump to another team review that came through because we got to go. So no, don't trade. I don't know that I would. I don't know that I would do it. Is where the way that I was leaning, Maze. Let's go with Colton's trade. Does this pop up? It does. Wonder why it was, I might need to look at changing where we host the site. Here we go with Colton in a 10-team, 1 quarterback start 10. PPR, half point, tight end premium. What are we doing here? Big players in this deal. Are we moving? Okay. I'm going to start reading them out and then we'll start to process it. Think about which side of this deal you guys want to be on and post it in the chat. Genty side or Pickens side. We've got Genty in a 27 first. 2 pretty good assets. 4, George Pickens, Kyron Williams, and Blake Corum, the combo. I don't know that I need Corum in there. Alec Pierce and a 27 second. Let's see. We've got Lions fans saying Pickens side easy, holy overpay. This is one of those that's definitely going to look like an overpay if you punch it into a trade calculator. Like, I don't care that much about a 27 second. I don't care that much about Blake Corum. Aaron Tacular is on the other side. I think this one will be split, even though if we punched this into a trade calculator, it's going to say, man, there's way more on the Pickens side. Who's sending it? Colton is sending this in. He has Ashton Genty. Like, do we want to go to Kyron Williams and Corum? Should this team down tier this heavily? The team is on the screen on YouTube and on Twitch. Should they down tier this much? From Genty and a 27 first. It's someone else's. It's not their own. I don't see their scoring. Like, do we need to move on? We've got Tet, Tyson, Burden, Devonta Smith, Brian Thomas. We would get Pickens and Pierce in at wide receiver. So we'd go like Tet, Pickens, Tyson, Burden, Devonta Smith, and then Alec Pierce and Brian Thomas, who become borderline starters for us. Camden says the Pickens side, but it's close. If you knew that you could, I would say, like, I got to know that I can move this 27 second and probably Alec Pierce at high value to do this. If I'm looking at the team that we have here, it's on the screen, big image of all the players on the screen. I don't know that I am. This team feels like, I don't know that we need to be splitting assets. We're just bringing, it's possible this gets you further ahead, but you have to do a bunch of the work. If we're not starting Alec Pierce or we're now pushing Brian Thomas out of our starting lineup, I kind of don't love that idea. And then we're moving, like, you go from a future first to a second. I would probably just rather have that first. So I don't know that I would do this. I'm staying with, I don't know that I would move it. I'd stay with Genty. We'll go with DCat and Brad, and then we'll swap to this team review. Ian Murdoch said, you think you want the Genty side? We're running into some issues. Is this just too many folks on here? We haven't had issues like this before, and it's not showing a problem on my monitoring. Can we get this one live? Oh, it did go through. It did go through. Here we go. First trade. We got 2 trades from the same guy, DCat444 in the league, Poker People. One side of this deal, it should pop up here. Where are we going on this one? Luther Burden or Jordan Tyson? And in spots like this, I will typically just default to which side can I trade away for more? If we're looking at 2 wide receivers, what does the market generally think about these 2 guys? And if I'm taking these players, which one do I want to be able to trade away? Can I get more for a package of Luther Burden and Jaden Higgins than I would with Jordan Tyson and Jaden Higgins? That's the way I start to think about it. Like, if I'm using these guys, what can I get? Which one of them is going to fetch me more in a trade? And to find answers like that, I come to this Dynasty Data Lab. This is not my site, but this pulls startup ADP. If you're in a startup, this is a great tool. And if you're looking at one-for-one trades, it's also a really good tool. We'll clear out the overlay so you guys can see that on the widescreen feeds. That should clear out in just a second. Let's see. Ian Murdoch says, I think you can get more for Tyson. I think you can get more than Tyson for Burden right now. That's kind of what I'm leaning towards. If we're looking at wide receivers, Tate in the 4th. I think Tyson's in the 5th. Odunze is wide receiver 22 and Burden is wide receiver 17. They're very close. Wide receiver 17 versus wide receiver 20. That's within the range where we're saying we don't know the future. Either one of these guys could be the better option, but typically people are taking Burden before they're drafting Jordan Tyson. Aaron Tacular, everyone is so high on Burden right now, understandably so. I think you can get a lot for him. So I'd say I might stick with Luther Burden and then build packages involving Luther Burden compared to Jordan Tyson, or get more than just Jordan Tyson. No, I like these guys about the same. I will say, like, the market is saying they like Burden more. So try to get slightly more for him. Here's the next deal. And I did call out Jaden Higgins specifically because here's the follow-up one from DCAT. Get this popping up. Here it is. It's a package involving Jaden Higgins, Eli Stowers, because he has Jaden Higgins. Higgins, Stowers, and Cooper for Kenyon Sadiq and Jeremy Bernard. I think this is too much to pay. Well, this is a different league, different scoring. It's an 8-team, 1 quarterback start 9. Are we moving Higgins, Stowers, and Cooper for Sadiq and Bernard? I think we're paying too much. I think we're paying too much here. The bump to go from Stowers, this, in my mind, the players that matter here is what's the bump required to go from Stowers to Kenyon Sadiq? And what we're paying here is like Omar Cooper, a first-round NFL wide receiver, and then on top of that, Jaden Higgins, who probably doesn't actually have that much value in an 8-team start 9 league. I think this is just too much to go to Kenyon Sadiq. So I'd say stay with the players that you have, although I do want to be doing these tier ups. Getting Jeremy Bernard in here is just kind of like empty value. We could almost just cross off like Higgins and Bernard in this trade and say neither one of these guys really matters in an 8-team start 9 league. We're looking at Stowers versus Sadiq, and I think paying Cooper to move up that much is probably too much for me. I do like both Cooper and Sadiq as rookies on the Jets. I think it's a bit more. I see your question, Hayden. We'll cover that one right after we look at this trade. We'll do this trade. We'll check the chat, and then we have a team review in the queue to get to from. Let me see who that one is from. I think it's from Kush. No, Kush had a trade question, not a team review. So we don't have a team review to jump to. Why did I think we did? No, we do from Kush. Kushal, did you not submit it? I think we do have one from you, Kush. I'll double check. You submitted both. Okay, I'll make sure that we find it. And we'll jump to that right now. All right, Brad's question is on the screen. In DIY Dynasty, this is a big boy trade. There's a lot of pieces here. Justin Jefferson, Monangai, Pearsall, and a second for the 104, a 27 first, a 28 first, and the 206. Are we getting enough for Justin Jefferson here? I don't know that we are. 10-team, 1 QB start, 8. Jefferson is by far the most valuable thing in this deal. If this was a 2-quarterback league, that would sway me a little bit more towards the early towards the 27 first, where we're getting a lot of quarterbacks in that draft. But if I want 3 firsts for Justin Jefferson, the 104 is pretty high, but in this league, what's that? Mekhi Lemon? Mekhi Lemon? I don't think I'm getting enough here for Justin Jefferson. And then we're adding in Monungai Pearsall in the 2nd round pick. Looking at this deal, this 206 on the bottom side on TikTok, that would need to be like another 1st round pick for me to even consider doing something like this. I don't think we're getting enough for Justin Jefferson here in a deeper league, and definitely not in a league as shallow as this one. This is breaking down, like, I don't know that I would do this deal if it was Jefferson just for the package, and then I didn't have to include Monungai Pearsall in the 2nd. That's kind of the range of how far off it is. Because it's 10 team start 8, 1 quarterback. Justin Jefferson's one of the most valuable pieces in a league like that. So we said we would go to Bradley, and then we'll find this review. And I think oh, maybe I have to do this. Is that going to do it for me? There it is. That's okay. Having thoughts in my mind that don't need to go on the show. Here's a team review coming in from Kush P. Let's get it on the board. Now, is this the same team that we had looked at, Kush? I feel like we had done one for you. Oh, you've made some moves. You've made some moves. Okay. So I think we've looked at this. You've made what? 1, 2, 3 trades. Here's one that came on July 11th. I think that's about the last time we had looked at it in this range. Okay. You got Tucker Kraft for 28. Let's go through this. This is a follow-up. Let me make some notes here. We'll go with 59 minutes on the clock. Now, I hope we come up with similar rankings if we've already looked at some of the things on this team, but 10 teams start 9. We're looking at 90 starters a week for Kush. Super flex. How are we feeling about this team? Quarterbacks: Justin Herbert, Jordan Love, Shadur Sanders. I think what we had said here is like, we're feeling pretty good about Justin Herbert. Ton of value there. Jordan Love is someone that I still think is a bit undervalued. If we're looking at, oh, you're right. Wrong page. Yes, we can do this. Yeah, we'll reset this, Kush. I need to double check that we have it on the screen. Thank you. Oh, you traded Jaden Daniels. Let's get this on. Here we go. We can get this done. On the screen, coming up, should be loading right now. There it is. Ian Murdoch. Now we could see everything. 1 hour flat. How are we feeling about this roster that we have here? Justin Herbert, Jordan Love as the 2 guys for a super flex league. I think that is good enough to get your team going. We're going with 20 quarterbacks starting each week. And I think Jordan Love is like that borderline QB1. This is going to depend on like how healthy is Christian Watson? How good is Matthew Golden in year 2? How good is Jaden Reed? But in a down year for Jordan Love, QB of 15. That's okay. He has been QB 5 before. I don't know that he will be again, but he's in this similar range as guys like Brock Purdy. They're all going to get around 25 touchdowns, and one of them will get to 30. Do we get the 30 from Purdy? I don't know. I said that because it rhymes. Do we get to 30 from CJ Stroud? It's possible. It's also possible with someone like Jordan Love. So we want to keep that open and say like he's value declined right now in the market, but I still think that he is all right. What we've got at running backs. So this is a very strong 2 to a 3. Not a ton of tradable assets here, but 2 solid starters. It's going to be like a middle of the pack quarterback room. And then if Sanders gets the starting job, you have a third. Otherwise, we're playing super flex. Like we can get around a quarterback. We want to get into the playoffs and then have a shot with our guys. We don't need a third quarterback in the playoffs, so we want to get that into our lineup. Running backs, I see 3 solid starters here. Judkins, Breece Hall, Javonte Williams is feeling behind that. Blake Corum, like we don't have a lot of injury coverage here. But in the start 9 with the super flex, like we have 3 guys here, 2 starters and a flex each week. We're probably starting Judkins, Hall, and Javonte Williams and getting decent scoring from these guys. I'm going to call that like a week or 3. A week or 3. Wide receivers. Got Puka, Rome, Christian Watson, Chris Godwin probably starting for you as a healthier player. Like we're feeling okay. We've got big pieces here. I kind of like the trade to bring in Chris Godwin. I think the market is a bit down on him as now a full year recovered, healthier option to play for this team. Like if we're looking at the Bucks having Ibuka and Godwin, I like Godwin to have some upside this year compared to where the market is thinking. I think it's still a little bit behind on where he is. Puka Nacua. Excellent. Roma Dunze. Let's get some upside of him. I don't really worry a ton about his foot issues. I think he should get back to where he was before. And then Christian Watson, player that I kind of just think is a little bit slept on right now because of the years of injuries. I don't feel very strongly about Jalen Coker as anything. And Khalil Shakir is a fine wide receiver 3 to 4. I think like we talked about last time, if Stephon Diggs signs somewhere, like we just gain another pretty good wide receiver 2 to 3 starter. If he's on the commies, we're feeling pretty good about that. Tight ends. We move up to Tucker Kraft in a deal for a 28 first. I think that's a good price on him. 28 first for just Tucker Kraft. There's not a tight end premium. So that just makes it like, yeah, it's an okay deal. Let's get the ranking on wide receivers. I think we're feeling pretty okay about the wide receiver room. We'd call it a 4 if we had a great second wide receiver, but we've added some here. I wrote down a 3. We have a solid starting core here. We've got that veteran production from Chris Godwin. For tight ends, probably a 3 with the tradability. Tucker Kraft is probably like top 5 tight end, top 6 in terms of production, especially in Dynasty. Like as we get further and further away from his injury and he's recovered more, I don't know that he's going to lose a massive step. And he's a big part of this passing offense. And I think it's going to heavily help out someone like Jordan Love. When we were talking about Jordan Love, I only brought up the wide receivers. I didn't bring up Tucker Kraft, who is one of their leading pass catcher options. So I think you've got probably their 2 top pass catchers, Christian Watson, Tucker Kraft. I would like to move on from Dalton Kincaid. I don't know that I need a second tight end in a non-tight end premium. Maybe it's possible Dalton Kincaid. He has really good efficiency stats if you look at his production from last year, but he didn't do a lot. He was efficient when he was on the field, but because of injury, not on the field a lot. I see the notes, you're shopping him around. Yeah, I think this is a guy that we want to move on from. And I'd be okay if we moved the 27 second with him to make something happen, or find deals with like Judkins and Kincaid, Javonte Williams and Kincaid, Odunze and Kincaid. We'd look at some things like that to pair them up to get him moving on. But other than that, that's the types of moves I'm looking to make here. When we go through the rosters, I think, what did we say, a tight end? We gave that 3, and then picks, probably 2. Like, no, I mean, 2 to 1, a very weak 2 to a 1, just because we don't have a first round pick next year. We do have a first round pick in 2028. And then we're missing a bunch of picks in 2029, but we've got the first. So I typically say if we're at our own, if we've just got our own picks, our own baseline picks, that's like a 2 on the scale, but we're definitely short of some. We're short of future first, so we'll call it a 1. Now we'll pull up the lineup power. And one thing that we say in a lot of these team reviews, like here, when we're looking at something like this, there is a chart where it goes from the top 1 to the rest. And I don't know that if things are this tightly that we can really say this is going to be the worst team, Snowborough, and Shiv is going to have the top team or the second to top team, or that is this Kabir. If Kabir is going to have the top team, the fun part of fantasy is we don't know the future. So if we're looking at this and saying like, I'm looking at this and saying this is a pretty tightly put together group, and that if we have 6 teams making the playoffs, we don't know who those 6 are. So we should play it as though we can make the playoffs. That's kind of the end point there. If we have enough guys that we feel like the market is a little bit low on in terms of production, then we should play it out like we can get in. And I think your team can get in, and we're not hurting ourselves by trying. I don't really want to send any more 28 firsts out, but I don't think we're hurting ourselves by saying, let's go for it. Let's get stuff going here. So are there other moves to make for the follow-up? It's really just Kincaid jumping out to me as something to move on from so that we have a stronger starting lineup. We have a lot of value here that won't count in our lineup because it'll be on the bench pretty often. So can we move Kincaid and Coker, Kincaid and things? And that's where we'll go with the follow-up moves. So we'll put together a list of more trades for, hey, here's what we would look at. But that's the general idea, is like, we've already moved on from a lot of the extra depth. Can we now build out a stronger starting lineup? And Kincaid's the clear spot for that. So we'll send out another write-up of like, hey, here's trades. Excited for a trade review. A lot of picks. Yeah. We'll take a look. Oh yeah, we'll get to your trade review as well. Actually, let's just jump to, I think you had a trade review. Let's jump to that one. And then we'll check in on the chat. We'll send this one live because it's in line with this. Garza says, check Twitch chat. I do, Garza. Kush P, moving Javonte Williams and Oscar Delp for Dowdle, Sampson, and a lot of seconds. Unless I know that I can do. So, like, what do we say on something like this? I'm not like that big on it. Moving Javonte Williams, you could come out ahead here. Let's talk about a pathway where you come out ahead on a deal like this. If we're moving Javonte Williams and we're going to Rico Dowdle, we then need Rico Dowdle to be the starter for Dallas, or for Pittsburgh, who has the head coach coming over from Dallas a year removed. Mike McCarthy was with the Cowboys, left for a year, then goes to Pittsburgh. And it's a reuniting of Dowdle from the Cowboys with McCarthy to Pittsburgh. That's what I wanted to say. We would need him to take over that job for you to come out ahead on this trade, moving Javonte Williams. You bring in Dylan Sampson. He has trade calculator value. It makes this look like a good trade. I don't know that we're ever starting Dylan Sampson or that we would be able to move Dylan Sampson. So I'd say I don't want him in this deal. And like, we could just cross him off in terms of evaluating this. We get 227 seconds and they're projected as early. I'm not over the moon about it. I'm seeing your message here. Like, people aren't interested in picks, to be honest. But I burned a bunch to get Judkins, Rome, etc. If people aren't interested in picks, just slow down. Like everything changes. One of the biggest things we could tell people for their dynasty team is like, hey, slow down. If the market doesn't want what you're selling right now, wait, because they definitely could in 3 weeks, in a month. They could as the season gets closer. They might want to take on picks or trade their picks away after 4 weeks. People panic after 4 weeks. You're a trading addict. I'd say like then maybe that's the thing, is just slow down a bit. Slow down a bit. Make sure that you're getting like great deals. Don't pass up on the potential for a great deal because like one isn't there yet. I've talked to people where we try to trade something, they say no, and then a week later they go, hey, actually, I kind of like that. Let's do that. Or they send a counter offer. I send a trade. They send a counter offer. And then the trade only happens because I said, hey, I like that you sent a counter, but this is my top of the line. I think it's fair. And as long as you just hold them to, this is where I think the value is. Like I had a deal, followed that same exact pattern a couple of weeks ago. Sent something out. They countered. I said, hey, I'm not willing to go more. And they said, yeah, that makes sense. And then just took the initial offer. So if people aren't buying these seconds and you can't move these, that's probably because they want to contend. And I would expect a lot of the people in this league want to contend. I don't know that I want to bring on the seconds. If you feel like people are taking on picks and punting, then this is a deal that I'm open to. So if I'm looking at like the team send trades, are they taking on future seconds? They have your future first. If they're taking on future 27 seconds and you could move for Javonte and then you have Dowdle and you're sending seconds to that guy to get other things, like really good things, then I would. Otherwise, like let's stick with the more solid, sure thing starter in Javonte Williams for now. But if the way I would fully break this deal down is like, I don't care about, Oscar Delp in a third, we can kind of just cross that out. They're even value, we just knock that off the trade. So then and I don't really even care about Dylan Sampson here. I don't know that there's really a chance that he amounts to anything unless, I guess you'd be bringing in Sampson because you have Judkins, and I don't particularly like doing that. So the deal is just kind of like Javonte Williams for Dowdle 2 seconds and a long shot backup. And unless I can take those seconds and get them into my lineup, I don't really want to. Because we could end up in a situation where like, hey, Rico Dowdle's not the starter and he doesn't get another contract after this year and it's just value loss. So I'd say like, let's stick with Javonte for now. Let's catch up on the chat. We had Garza say, how should I build from the 104? I'll prime sub if you can give me some ideas up to around 7 to 8. You don't have to prime sub. We just did a mock draft from pick 6 yesterday. All you have to do is just comment on it that you want to see pick 4, Garza. Here it is. I don't know if we're going to continue on this. Here's where things are tricky. I'm showing the channel right now. This one is here. Here's where things are tricky for me. If people want to know strategies from certain draft picks, like here it is. It got no views. So if they want to ask it in the chat, like I would love to tell you. It's right here on a video where we go through and we just do the draft and we talk through the full thought process going through it, how we move through strategies. I don't know that there really is I don't think it's really even smart to say that there are draft strategies to go into your draft. You kind of just want to know how to navigate things as they happen. And that's what we did. And nobody wants it. So it's a tough back and forth for Garza saying, I'll give you a prime sub if you tell me how to do this. Like it's free, but only if people want it, and they don't seem to. Like 41 views is very, very low compared to like a good video hits 1,000 on the first day. So I'm kind of torn. I'll give you pick 4, but if I'm going to get 40 views on it, You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Other things in the chat. Gilman sent a trade review. We do have a queue of the trade reviews, which I mean, so I think I see Gilly Goose, which might be you, just kind of by chance, the pencil lined up with it. On TikTok, you can't see it. There's just not enough like phone real estate to show all of the things that we show on Twitch and on YouTube. But we do the queue going across. We're at 14 trades in the queue. So let's hit some of those right now. Like Jay Gibson. Let's cover some of these. 10-team super flex, 6-point passing touchdown, start 9. I think Chad would just hit me with a YouTube sub. Thank you, Chad. Are we moving a 28 first in Concepcion for Rashee Rice? This is the higher end. If I have Rashee, am I doing this? I might be. In a 10-team Superflex start 9 where we're starting 90 players, we are likely to just get the best scoring from Rashee this year. And then if he goes on the franchise tag, I know that the Chiefs have said they don't want to extend him. If he just goes on the franchise tag, probably repeats and hits the high end. What I will say, because you're a team moving on from Rashee in this deal, is like, this is about the higher end of the market rate. We've seen a lot of cheap Rashee Rice deals. I would shop around and see, before I made a deal like this, I would want to know, like, hey, can I move Concepcion? You would then have Concepcion and Denzel Boston. People are kind of going back and forth on who the starter is there, which really only tells me the market's not that excited about either guy. I would shop. I would do a bit more shopping before I moved Rice in this deal. And I may just, here's what I think if you just wait and he's playing and you get a couple weeks of like what he had been doing, you could probably get more than Concepcion at a 28 first. And in the leagues where I have him, I'm not sure that I would take in. If this was Waddle and a first, I would be more interested. I'm trying to think of like a receiver I like that is a bit value depressed. That's kind of where I would look at over someone like Concepcion. Like, he's young, he does have upside, but I think I would look for a more established receiver right now and a 28 first. I think we did get another team review coming through. We'll reload that one. Let me double check on this. Where are we at? We're an hour 20 in. We do, from Nick. We see you, Nick. Let's cover a couple of these trades, then we'll jump to the team review. I am here, Brewhammer. We'll go through Eslat in the queue. If Eslat's here, we'll get to him right now in this chunk. We're going to do 3. And then we'll jump to that team review from Nick. We'll hit the chat again before we swap over to the team review. Cool? Cool. I am Hebrew Hammer. It's all in caps for me. So it is a little bit harder to find where words end and start. How are we doing? How are we feeling on this trade? As always, feel free to chime in the chat. It's a 12-team super flex, 5-point passing touchdown, start 10. Half-point PPR, half-point tight end premium. Are we sending Caleb Williams and Jeremiah Love? Big pieces for Drake May and James Cook and Rashid Shaheed. Which side of this is Hebrew Hammer? Am I moving Caleb Williams? You do get the up tier. You go up to Drake May. Jeremiah Love down to James Cook near the end of his, probably at like the peak of his value for the rest of his career. James Cook, I think that's fair to say. Doesn't mean he's not going to produce. But it's hard to say that his value is going to spike back up. Do we need to care about that? We would then have May and Herbert. We would lose Jeremiah Love. And then have James Cook and Jonathan Brooks as our options. I don't know that we have the wide receivers really here to contend. I think I might stick with the youth here, specifically for this team. And then with this trade, if we're looking at players like this far up, Rashid Shaheed's just not really adding anything, adding a ton to this. I think I'm okay with moving on from Caleb. I don't know that I'm thrilled to move on from Jeremiah Love for James Cook here, for a team that is unlikely to contend this year. Like, we don't have a tight end. We don't really have wide receivers. I feel like if we're in a 12-team start 10, Hebrew Hammer, like, it's hard to tell you to contend with your top wide receivers being Concepcion, Alec Pierce, Jordan Addison, Quentin Johnston. And then behind that, it's Jack Bash and Tank Dell. Tight ends, TJ Hawkinson, a guy I wish was playing better. It's hard to say, man, this is really a contending roster and we're just reshaping this, and adding in veteran James Cook is going to get you across the line this year. I don't know that I can tell you to do that. I would stay with Caleb Williams if this was my team. Maybe Jonathan Brooks is a big breakout and gets you there, but I'm staying with the Jeremiah Love side. We said we would go through East-Lat, so we got Gavin in Phantom Troop Fantasy. And I want to tell you guys, when I saw this, I thought it said Phantom Toupee Fantasy. And I don't know what a Phantom Toupee would be, but good thing it doesn't matter. Gavin says, this is a 12-team Superflex start 10, full point per reception, half point tight end premium. That's what we do in our startups. If you guys are looking to get into a startup, I think we should do one soon. We just finished Boom Bust 10. Maybe we'll do Boom Bust 11. Let's go with this trade, though. So we've got the notes saying fresh out of a startup, and I'm leaning towards contending with some trades. I really wanted Purdy instead of Love with Tyson involved, but the other owner is really high on Purdy. We've also talked about Rome instead of Tyson, but the other owner wants a little more to increase this year's production. How are we feeling about this deal? Tyson for Love, fine. And Jaden Daniels for Justin Jefferson. This feels like fine. There's a ton of upside in both Jefferson and Jaden Daniels, and probably more upside in Daniels for his long-term production compared to Jordan Love or even Justin Jefferson. If we get like 7 years of Jaden Daniels versus 3 of Justin Jefferson, because he's 27, and we'll start to lose value as he gets older, I might stay with the Daniels and Tyson side here. This is 4 players I really like. And if I'm just looking at like who could produce and give you a bigger value return this year in a deal this close, that's kind of the tiebreaker for me. So I would say Jordan Tyson is what breaks the tie. How are you guys feeling on this one? Because it's super close. Is it Tyson or Jefferson in the chat? We'll call them out as we see them. Justin says you take the Jefferson side. I mean, I think this is, I'm going to call this one even. There are some, I know, like you ask the question, you want to know which side would I take. I'm really happy with both sides. This is 4 players I really like. I think they're all a little bit undervalued in the Dynasty market. Sometimes the answer is, if this is a deal you want to do, like, Godspeed, go for it. I can't tell you, I can't sense, I could not decide which of these sides I would want to have, which is just an even deal and go ahead and make it. So hopefully that's enough to go forward, Gavin. I don't always want to pick one. E-Slat is the one that we'll look at. Then we'll check the chat and we'll hit the next team review in the queue. 12-team Superflex start 9. Zay Flowers, a 27 first, a 27 first, a 27 second. And then we would bring in Trey McBride and a third. The notes here saying having McBride and Pitts both play each week feels like a solid option in a tight end premium league, but it feels expensive. I think it's expensive. That's my initial thought on this. So this is a team where you have multiple firsts. Next year, you've got 4 firsts, and I like the concept. We've looked at the team, Texans, Packers, Super Bowl. We've seen this team plenty of times. This feels like we're paying a lot. Like, I like Zay Flowers. I think he's a teensy bit undervalued in Dynasty right now. and that it would be around the price. I think we're just paying a bunch here. If we wanted to make this big jump, like I'm not that sure I would do it for Trey McBride. Would I do this for Brock Bowers? Yeah. Flowers, 2 firsts and a second for Bowers and a third, I would. I don't know that I'm doing it for Trey McBride, or where it's getting into the more questionable territory. Is this something I think this team has to do? I don't know that it's the best use of these extra first round picks you have. It's kind of where I would say. It's not an outlandish price. It definitely leans into what you're saying. Like, it feels expensive. So if it's feeling expensive and it's 27 firsts, they're only going to go up in value. You can just wait until the season starts and people start punting players and then move these firsts for players in season, or do a bigger up tier there, and you might be able to get a much better deal. Once a team feels like they have to sell, you can often get crazy high deals for your future firsts. And I might say I'd probably just wait until that moment and hang on to these firsts. All righty. The queue should be now at 9 after that. And we've got a team review, and we will get it on the screen, and we won't not have it like we did for a moment on the last one with Kush. This comes in from Nick L. And I'm setting it up right now. It's loading, and then I'll move it. Yeah, you got it. You got it. You get it. We just do this. No, not really. Can I do this? Yes. Here's the team. Big Ballers, 12 team, 1 quarterback, 6-point passing touchdown, start 12 PPR. Is this really 12 by 12? Nick, this is deep. That is a deep 12 by 12 PPR, full point tight end premium. Let me write down notes and a timestamp on this one. Here we go. Quarterback. We've got Jordan Love and Bryce Young. It's a 12 team, start 1 quarterback. We've been calling stuff like this a 1. Call it a really strong 1. Reindeer Club says yes, 12 by 12. Justin, I see you. And actually, I didn't go into we'll cover the chat right after this team review. I realized we skipped that. We've been saying Jordan Love, kind of a 1 if it's a 1 quarterback league in terms of ranking. As we go through these, we're saying, what do we have in terms of tradability and in terms of perceived production for this year? I think Jordan Love is fine, but this is probably one of the weakest quarterback rooms in the league. If we go through this, like Moran at the bottom of the projected scoring has Josh Allen. Team has Mahomes and Daniel Jones, Lamar Jackson and Jackson Dart, Herbert and Stroud, Drake May. I'm going to stop if we find one that we like more than Jordan Love and Bryce Young. There's nothing wrong with that being your room, but we just like everyone else's better. And Jordan Love's a bit undervalued. I think you can contend with Jordan Love. I am still going to mark it down as like, and we're kind of just, we're using this guy. Maybe we look to up tier here. So one of the weaker rooms. The secret is you can contend with the weakest quarterback room. So we'll add that extra note. In a 1 QB league, you can contend with Jordan Love. There's just not a ton of flexibility. We'll keep moving. Running backs. Hampton, big, bright star for the future. A lot of trade value based on what could happen with this guy. I hope it does. I like Omarion Hampton. I hope that he has a big breakout season with Mike McDaniel and is that lead guy putting up double-digit 10 to 20 touchdowns on the year, like we've seen running backs in Mike McDaniel's systems do. Not even always great ones. Like Raheem Mostert had over 20 touchdowns. Could that be what Hampton is? I can't tell you yes. Like no one can tell you the future, but there's a ton of potential, a ton of value here. Second option, Ken Walker. Lead guy for the Chiefs, a team that has desperately needed a running back in a system that has produced great fantasy production at running back, even with really weak options like Isaiah Pacheco. I mean, Kareem Hunt as a starter last year was usable in a flex role. So I think we have a really good upside for Ken Walker for this year, for another year. Javonte Williams kind of in that 1 to 2 to maybe 3 more years of pretty solid Javonte Williams, like running back 2 production, 12 to 15 on the finish, 10 to 15 on the projected running back finish. So we're feeling really strong here. Jonathan Brooks behind that as a 4th option, like great breakout potential. And then nothing else of note. Maybe LaQuint Allen to cover an injury if for some reason Rodriguez and Tootin were both injured. Caleb Johnson as a very deep long shot. I wish Caleb Johnson was good. I don't know that I could tell you that he's a key piece for this team. Ranking, my gut is telling me 3 here. Look, we have some flexibility. Wide receivers. All right, I'm seeing 4 good options. Ibuka, Pickens, Wilson, Olave. I really like Jordan Addison as a sleeper. We do want to get into depth in a 12 by 12. And if we're looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we're starting to feel all right from wide receivers. I don't feel strongly that we're going to get really anything from Pat Bryant, DK, Mims, Leggett. Maybe Leggett gives you some value as a starter in the very deep version of this league. Like probably on the field some this year, which is what we're looking for if we have to start 12 players. And then what we've got, Tucker Kraft. Oh, so let's give a wide receiver rating. 2. Maybe Ibuka's a stud. I think we probably saw peak George Pickens last year with no CeeDee Lamb for, what was that, 6 weeks, and then recovering from a high ankle sprain. It was probably the career. It's not crazy. It's not disrespectful or crazy to say it was probably Pickens' best year in his career. He's still young. You'll still get good production. Saying he won't hit the heights anymore, but will still be very good. I think that's fair. Garrett Wilson and Olave maybe finally coming around. Like we saw a great year from Olave last year. I don't know that Jordan Tyson really hurts Olave. This is a team that just desperately needed a second wide receiver, needed more options on offense. So like adding in HN and adding in Jordan Tyson, I think just kind of keeps Olave, like makes it feel more of a sure thing that Olave will be a top wide receiver compared to if the offense was just horrible around him. It's hard to be great. Like we've seen with Garrett Wilson. It's hard for Garrett Wilson to be a usable fantasy wide receiver and live up to his potential because there just hasn't really been anything around him for a long time. So adding in good players around Olave, it's like, this is what we would want to have happen with Garrett Wilson. I feel good about these top 4. I feel good about Jordan Addison as a weekly starter in a league where you're going this deep. And then good product. So what did we say on that? Did we write that down? We called that a 2. Tight ends. Kraft and Laporta. Really good for, like, you're starting both of these guys each week. I'm going to call it a really strong 3 here. Like, obviously no studs, but we have young. I'm expecting good production from Laporta with Drew Petzing coming over from the Cardinals. I think Tucker Kraft bounces back within the next, within this year, if not next year, bounces back to being like one of the key pieces of that Packers offense. He's out there all the time, one of the lead receiving options. I don't know that Christian Watson heavily suppresses his value or suppresses his numbers. I think we just get slightly better production from Jordan Love with Kraft back, with Jaden Reed back healthy, with Christian Watson out there. If we got to get to 12 starters, how are we feeling about some of those starters though? I just count them out. Like Love is 1. Starting Hampton, Walker, Javonte Williams, possibly Jonathan Brooks, because we have to get to 12. So we're at 5. Ibuka, Pickens, Wilson, Olave, Addison, Kraft, and Laporta. That's not bad. That's not bad. That's not bad at all. And if we look at where you're at on the lineup power, like you're in the mix. It looks like we've got 4 teams not really going for it. And then what is this? Does that make that 8? 8 teams in the mix? I think you're in the mix. This is a situation where going for it this year doesn't hurt us. And you're adding in pick 106, who could be, maybe Jadarian Price is gone by then, but another starter. So I think you're in the mix to contend this year, and contending doesn't hurt this team. There are years where, or team situations where we'd say like, hey man, your best receiver's AJ Brown, and then after that it's Jalen Coker. Let's maybe get the most value that we can out of AJ Brown and pivot. And that's not a situation that I see here. This is one where I think we're okay to move and like go for it. If the league is this deep, I think you could probably still get something from Pat Bryant. There are still believers that Pat Bryant will do something for the Broncos, and I don't know that I see that as a potential there. If you end up not drafting someone like Jadarian Price, we'll probably look at sending, and it's going to be harder to send real trade offers because I'm going to be taking like, hey, here's Emmanuel Wilson. He's on the Seahawks. It's Wilson, Holani, and Jadarian Price. And I'm probably going to try to send Wilson to that guy and then include other pieces in deals like that. That's really what I'm looking at in a move like this, and with a team like this. That's a contender and probably able to contend again next year with your 27 first. We're just borderline. If we get to be 1-4, maybe we start moving some of these things to get to extra first round picks. But I think the team is set up pretty good to go for it this year. If we're looking at bottom tier players, looking for value risers, that's odd. Do you have your pick? We'll take a look at that. What we're looking for is like, if we go through these bottom tier teams like Moran, can we get Chris Godwin for a future second? I would look at something like that. That's the type of player we want to add to this team. Could we get Aaron Jones for a third? With these teams, and I'll go through these rosters and build out trade ideas. Could we get Isaiah Pacheco for nothing? I bet you could. And it's not going to surprise me if he gets, 8 touchdowns for Detroit and becomes a starter or startable in a league this deep. So we'll take a look at some of these deeper down teams and target who's rebuilding and what can we get from them. We don't want to send in a ton more because we're borderline content, like we're contenders, but we're on the bubble. So can we add more production without heavily pushing in? And that tier of players like Rashad White, J.K. Dobbins, really cheap, but we're looking for 1 to 2 years of solid production. Isaiah Pacheco on Detroit, a team that has given good goal line carries to players like Jamal Williams, who then produced. Like, I think they think Pacheco is going to be okay for them. Other options like that would be just grabbing Stephon Diggs for super cheap right now, assuming that he signs somewhere. So we'll put together some trade concepts like that. But with the team that we have here, I'll also include like 1 to 2 situations where I see us down tiering from a little bit of youth. Like if we moved on from Ken Walker to bring in an older running back, but then also moved from Pat Bryant to a better wide receiver. That's the type of trades that I'll try to find and give you suggestions for. But other than that, I'm kind of sticking with what we have. We'll try to get a little bit older to get a little bit more production, but not a ton. Not a ton. Jacoby, you are understanding that. You are understanding that, Jacoby. So we'll put together more trade options. Here's where you will be able to find that. Once that's done, we wrap these up within 24 hours. So tomorrow, you'll be able to come to the My Advice tab, and you'll see the team reviews will be showing here. It shows all the teams I've reviewed, but you'll have yours here, Nick, and it'll have extra trade written up there. But I think you can contend with this. I just don't want to push a ton more. And then if we're 2-6, let's pivot for picks and value rising assets. Especially with a team like this one where we're looking at it saying, let's go here. Where we're looking at it saying like, yeah, you're in the mix, but there's a chance you're team 7 or 8 on the outside looking in. And if it's looking that way, let's grab some injured players. Let's find stuff that we can buy in cheap and go up in value to then move in the offseason. Like if you're not a contending team, you can just trade for players that you know you're going to trade away in 6 months because they'll be healthy and you'll be able to move them for way more than you paid. So we'll also put notes and examples of things like that. Like the clear example right now is just Zach Charbonnet. He will come back, but he's not good for a contender right now. But he'll come back and possibly just sign with a different team next year and go up in value. I traded for Joe Burrow last year while he was injured on a rebuilding team because he's going to get healthy again and go up in value. You're just paying low prices for these guys. So we'll wrap on that one. Thank you very much, Nick, for sending that in. Let's get to the trade queue. We are at an hour 42, 9 o'clock. I think it's getting later here. Let's try to clear out this trade queue before we close up shop for the night. We are also back on Wednesday. So if you submit something and we don't get to it tonight, we'll start up with it at Wednesday, 7:30 Central Time. We got Meaners in the Chud League. Let's take a look, Meaners. This should be getting set live. Making sure that I'm just checking the notifications to see if I'm missing any that have come through. Okay, Meaners in a 12-team Superflex. Start 9, PPR, no tight end premium, and that's going to come into play in a deal like this. And we'll add on the notes here. On Twitch and on YouTube, you can check out the roster, and I think this one does come into play. So the notes here say, I certainly don't need a tight end. There's no tight end premium, but I really wanted the Bowers-Loveland duo since I'm a Bears fan. I am also a Bears fan. Other party said I was trying to rob him, and the trade didn't go through. Any thoughts? So the deal is sending Rome Odunze, Bucky Irving, Travis Kelce, and a 27-second to get Colston Loveland and DeAndre Swift. I'm okay if this doesn't go through for your team. You've got Rome, Bucky, Travis Kelce. Like I guess I understand wanting to move on from Kelce and saying, let's move a player that is good but won't necessarily be used for us. You're in a league where there's no tight end premium. Maybe you're starting Kelce over Antonio Williams at wide receiver, but you've got Brock Bowers. We don't need to go get Colston Loveland. You've got behind Bowers, you got Eli Stowers, you got Bowers and Stowers. I'm a Bears fan. It doesn't mean I always need to go get my team's players. I get it's more exciting to root for your team on Sunday. I'm not sure where I see this being like the best move for the team. On value, I think we're paying a lot. I think we're selling low on Bucky Irving if we were to do a move like this. We're also kind of selling maybe we're not selling low on Rome Odunze. We don't know the future. I think this is a bit expensive for a player that doesn't fit a clear need for us. Alex is saying, I feel like it's an overpay for him. I think, there's not a need to bring in Loveland. If we're bringing in Loveland, like, let's find a deal where we're sending Bowers away. You'd rather have his side, especially outside of a tight end premium. I think there's just better deals to go do. Like, what's the move here? We're not then it doesn't make sense to bring these guys in and then possibly be looking at starting Bowers, Loveland, possibly Stowers over wide receivers who you could just get for cheaper. And I don't know that bringing in the top tight ends then gives you an edge when you're trading them away. I know some people feel that way. Like, if I go get all of these guys, then people have to come to me and I can set the market. It doesn't always work that way. You kind of just get stuck with them. Let's go to KCL Chang in GHS Dynasty. It's loading up on your screen. We'll do this one, and then I will double check that. I keep saying I'll check in on the chat. We're doing this, then we're checking the chat. KCL Chang, Ted McMillan and Jonathan Brooks, or Justin Herbert in a 10-team Superflex start 10. This feels like why do we got to add? I guess maybe I think we're just paying a bit much here. I like the upside of Brooks. What's the roster here? Well, if you have Justin Herbert, would I move just actually scratch that? Yeah, Zachary, you're looking at the team. I started with what I was saying. So here's inside baseball. I look at just the trade. How do I feel about this trade? Like, I like the Tet and Jonathan Brooks side. Then I check and see which side of the deal is the person who asked the question on. They have Justin Herbert, and they also have Drake May, Dak Prescott, Tyler Shuck. Like, I am definitely doing this move. If I can move Herbert for Tet and Jonathan Brooks, I liked that value side anyway. And I like moving a quarterback that would be on my bench into my starting lineup, like moving all of that value. So we'll submit that one. Zach Mason is saying, holy cow, this guy's team is loaded. I have not fully gone through it. It does look good. Let's take a look. May, Herbert, Prescott, they would be bringing in Tet and Jonathan Brooks. They would have McCaffrey, Etienne, Derrick Henry, Dobbins, Jefferson, Lamb, Rice, AJ Brown. Yeah, this is a very good team. This is a very good team. And I think moving Herbert makes a lot of sense for this team, especially in that way. Let's make sure we're not missing too much from the chat. I think we're good on the Twitch and the YouTube and the Twitch chat. And then I think let's check Kevin W on TikTok said, how do you submit your team? You do them on our site. It's right here. Right there. There's a page on that site once you've synced your teams called the team advice page, and that's where you'll do it. That's where you would do that. Drew saying, am I crazy for thinking he should move May and get a top wide receiver? I don't think so. I don't think so. If you have, like, what did he have? He would be left with Darnold and Shuck and then moving for a top wide receiver. I mean, he's already moving a quarterback for a top wide receiver. Drew, should he just swap it and find a different trade? Could, yeah, he could. There's a lot of options. Sometimes you know, the price is the price in the league you're in. If that's the only trade you could make, it's the only one. And I like it. I like that one too. Let's go with this one. Murdoch says, just did this trade to get Kincaid. Feel like my team is still rebuild, but fringe, and wanted to move off Myers to get younger in a weaker spot for my lineup. The trade is Jacoby Myers and a 27 third for Dalton Kincaid. I don't think this is an overpay. I don't know how long Dalton Kincaid lasts in the league. He's kind of getting into that Pitts tier. Like, is he ever going to be great? Maybe. But moving Jacoby Myers at a 27 third for this player, I am okay with. I will add in, like, could you have gotten a different, I mean, and I'm not even going to provide an answer here. Could you have gotten a different player? Yeah. Could I have liked that trade more? Also, yeah. But I don't hate this. If you feel like you're rebuilding, get to a young tight end that has plenty of value, you're getting paid out on a third to make that deal happen. I don't think that you would be getting Kincaid for Jacoby Myers, and the 27 third is not a massive overpay. I'm fine with that. I kind of like using my thirds to do up tiers like this. I just don't personally love Kincaid, but I think with the market rates, like, this is a fine deal. A quick, easy win. All right, Knicks trade in Big Ballers. I guess I hadn't checked this one. This is a trade from one of the reviews we just did. I didn't realize that we had a trade question as well. It's a move involving... Ooh. I didn't know this. This has been offered these two picks for Walker and Pickens. Oh my. I'm going to write this down. Because I might be doing this. It's a one quarterback league. Are you guys doing this? We were just looking at this team. Ken Walker for the 101 and George Pickens for the 103. Who's 103? It's not Carnell Tate, so it's probably Jordan Tyson. I think the Ken Walker, I think we're taking the picks. Is there anyone here not taking the picks on this deal? Like, we're just swapping positions. You bring in Jeremiah Love, I mean, or you just sell these picks and trade down for other stuff. I think I am. Depends on if I'm competing. It's a contending team. We just looked at it, Rock. It's a contending team. It's a borderline contending team. We think there's about 8 teams that are all in it and on the bundle and on the bubble, and then 4 teams not. Oh, there's nothing wrong if you just got here, Rocky. I'm just giving you context. We spent a lot of time looking at this team. We did a team review for them. If you're on the TikTok feed, we don't show the rosters on here because there's just not enough space. But on Twitch and on YouTube, like, you could just check the whole roster. We went through this one in a full team review. Yeah, I think I am. You do get a little bit younger, but then you could also be pivoting from these guys. Like, Love and Tyson is a pretty good haul here. And you don't even have to. This is a team where I don't even know if you need to. Like, you don't have to make these picks. You could send the 103 with other things. You could split these for the team that you have. You get a ton of flexibility. I think I would be doing this. Guther, do you answer chat questions? Yeah, I think we just said that we were going to cover that trade and then chat questions. We don't take a lot of Dynasty chat questions. We don't take a lot of Dynasty trade questions from the chat because the way that we build these out is from the website. You submit your trade on the website and then it puts them on here. That's where we get them from. Clubhouse, do we do guests? Not while we're live. I don't think I have a. Yeah, we'll do a quick pivot to. I already can barely keep up. Like here. No, that's our gaming. No. I was trying to see if I had a different. Let's go back to this. I was trying to see if I had a different scene for showing how much stuff is on the screen that we juggle. No, but I would do a duo show. I'm definitely open to doing a duo show. Just not pulled up while we're in the middle of one. So I think I'm okay with making this one. Let's close this out and then let's check in on a couple other messages from the chat. We've got, after that one wraps up, I think that leaves us at 5 trades in the queue. We've got an open team review queue. If you're looking to get your team covered, if we're caught up on team reviews, we've got these 5 more trades. Let's take a look at some on the chat. Yeah, Guthrie, we do answer questions here. We don't do Dynasty trade questions like we were saying. Danuge, Ken Walker, and Pickens definitely makes you contender. The rooks, let's get you future value to either keep or trade. I mean, he already has those, Danuge. I think the rookies just also have good production. Like, I think we're getting super young in that last deal that we had up. Like, it was Ken Walker. Do we know that Ken Walker for sure outscores Jeremiah Love this year? And then there's more future there? I don't know. Cal, how are you doing? I'm going through the chat and also thinking. And then Danuge, who would I draft at 112 and 201 in a redraft league? Probably, like, I'm looking at Jefferson if he's there. Jefferson and James Cook in that range. They're all kind of falling that late. I would have to look. We have been doing, let's see. Do I have this? Yeah. We can put this screen up. We have been doing, nope, that's the wrong one. That's why it's hard to bring someone on. We have been doing mock drafts from each position. I don't know that we're going to continue them. it's hard to gauge. Like, we get a lot of questions. What would you do at 112 and 201? We did a full set of mock drafts last year. The views are just incredibly low on here. It doesn't seem like the right move to keep making them, but people ask it in the chat, so I don't know. Brendan, I see your question. Let's do that one right now. Brendan, if you submitted or once you have the team review credit to get your team review done, you go to team advice. It would then show 1 credit up here. I think you're on the TikTok feed where it's just off screen. Shows a badge of how many credits you have. As long as you have a credit here, it's just request team review, this big button right there on the team review page. And just make sure you have the correct league selected in the top right or from your profile. That is how you do that. Let's do R. Martin, and then we'll check the chat again. Dynasty Degens. R. Martin, 12-team Superflex. Start 11 PPR 0.75 tight end premium. Just did this trade to get Sadiq based on my team not being too strong contending wise. Should I look to flip Myers or just hold tight for now? Okay, let's take a look. You moved Jordan Addison and Mike Gesicki and a 27 second. So Addison and a second for Sadiq and Jacoby Myers. I like the Sadiq side. There's a big tight end premium in this league. I think you got in low on Sadiq. Should you look to move Jacoby Myers? What have you got? Wide receivers, you got Neighbors, Lemon, Pearsall, Worthy, Myers, Sadiq, Barner at tight end, Gentine, Scatabo, Rodriguez. Like, it's 12-team Superflex. Like, this isn't a horrific team. If you're looking to do like more of a retooling year, then yeah, I'm moving Jacoby Myers. I don't know that we're going to get a lot of value rising from him. I'd be looking to move on from Jacoby Myers, but I'd probably also be trying to move on from Pearsall, and then Chris Rodriguez as an option to move later as well. Oop, there's the wrong button. Here we go. So I like the Sadiq move, and I like bringing in Jacoby Myers, even if you're a team saying I'm not planning to contend this year. I like bringing in someone like Myers. We should say, like, we're not getting a big value rise from him probably this year in terms of like long-term dynasty value. Isn't he 29? We're just looking for production. So we should do our best to move that production to someone else's roster. Let's take a look at, oh, we said we would cover the chat. Let's see, we got Zachary. Any deep stashes in the draft you have? Yeah. I think let's see. You have the last pick in the draft. I try to like deep stashes in the rookie draft, Zach Mason, or like a redraft. You have the last pick in the draft. You try to stay away from just taking a random quarterback. Oh, you've been looking at Keelan Black, so that's probably like deep rookie stashes. I mean, Keelan Black, if he's there, I think he shouldn't be. So I would take Keelan Black. If it's in that range, like Stribling and Max Clare are guys I like. DeJon Stribling for the 49ers. Other than that, not really. I typically grab a quarterback. Dylan, the team reviews, yeah, they are a premium product. That is a paid product. Hayden Wayne Scott Mendoza value. Let's show this. Let's jump to this. So Hayden is asking Mendoza value, and I want to call this tool out that we have on our site. It's been a minute since we've done this demo on the live today. We've got our trade builder. This is something that's free to use on our site. If you have a player and you want to know what can I get for that player, one like Hayden Wayne Scott says Mendoza value, like, yeah, that can help, but I don't know if Hayden is in a 1 quarterback league. I don't know if he's in a super flex league. And for the sake of this demo, it doesn't matter. If you sync your sleeper account to our site, boombustfantasy.com, whichever league you have selected, you can click in the top right to your profile and it'll pull up every league that you're in Sleeper. You select that league, it'll show that team on the screen, and then it will help you build trades using the scoring settings for that league. So like here right now, say I wanted to move Jackson Dart. Same question, it's essentially the same question. What's Mendoza's value? We'll take a look at the trade market. I've got quarterbacks here. I need to move one. So if I wanted to move Jackson Dart and I wanted to also move Kyle Monangai in a package, it has built out trade packages. If I'm moving these two players, here's fair value trades, packages of one player, packages of two players, based on the actual rosters in my league and the scoring settings of our league. So if you're looking for that, Hayden, that's here. That's what the trade builder is. It covers things like if you want to move Mendoza and someone else, here's what you could get. If you just wanted to move Mendoza, it'll show you packages of one or two players. Like if I only wanted to move Jackson Dart, it says it's about even value for Jalen Hurts, Jonathan Taylor, Trevor Lawrence. And these are just sorted by closest in value. If I wanted to split them into two players, like Trevion Henderson and DK Metcalf, is a fair value trade based on real trades that have been happening. Let's cover a couple more in the queue. I think that was Brendan submitting a team review. If that comes through, we'll jump over to that. Yeah, the Notorious from Brendan. So we'll do this trade and then we'll jump to Brendan. CTA Baka. That's probably not how you say this. You guys can take your guesses at how to say it for fun. Jason Z says, man, you're back. The hat is back. I've been wearing a hat the whole time, Jason. Since fantasy ended, I've still been wearing a hat just because I'm getting old and going bald. How are we feeling in this trade? 10 team Superflex, start 11, PPR, half point tight end premium. One side, Alex is saying I'd prefer the McBride side. I haven't even looked yet. So let's talk about it. We got McBride, Chase Brown, Jamison Williams. That's a good side. The other side, Fannin, Ibuka, Marv, and a 28 first. I think I'm staying with the Trey McBride side. Like, it's always possible. I mean, I will call out, like, for the other side, it's possible. We look back in a year and go, like, yeah, we were wrong. Fannin took a step forward. That offense got better. Emeka Ibuka was a big breakout. Marvin Harrison finally broke out, and they all shot up in value. And then the 28 first just saw, like, regular value rise. It's possible that that side is better in a year, but I don't know. I don't think that's a good way to think about trades. Like, it's not even right now. It could be a higher value thing, but it's also just like not even value right. It's not an even value right now. I will add in, like, I'm also okay with moving on from Trey McBride, but I don't know that this is the deal I would do. I think you could get more if you were moving Trey McBride. So I'm sticking there. Luke is here. They've all got nothing on my glorious king, Christian Watson. Every time I cover a video with Christian Watson, I do want to call him Luke's glorious king, Christian Watson. But I don't know that anybody else would understand, because I don't think you call him your glorious king in your videos. That's Luke in the chat on TikTok. If you guys aren't following him, make sure you are. I think his videos are better than mine. I think you should just go watch him right now. I'm just joking. Please don't. I could not handle that. Let's get this team review up on the screen for Brendan. Let's grab this. I need to come up with a better way to produce this where I can more quickly get this on your screen. But here, I'll open it here. I've got a browser for the show control. We'll copy this. Here we go on the screen. Not bad. Not horrible. Not horrible. This is for Brendan. I should keep my face on the camera. We're just going to make some notes for this. So here's what we're going to do for Brendan. We'll do a team review here where we go through the team, the league, etc., come up with a plan of attack for this team, get a gauge of if they're contending, if they're not, how we feel about this roster, and then some ideas of like, hey, here's some trades that we would explore looking at, some trade concepts. We'll cover all of that live. And then tomorrow, Brendan will be able to come to the My Advice tab up here, and under team reviews, I guess I could just click and open that. And under team reviews, come back to a full write-up of what we cover on the live show. Some of it is just the same things that I say here, typed up in terms of like marching orders, Is this team contending this year, next year, and so on? And then trade ideas that I would make. And what we do is we build out a big list of real trades that I would look at in the league that Brendan is in based on the actual rosters in his league, because we have all of the rosters in his league and we can click through them. Did I just lose his team? He is the Notorious. So let me write down the timestamp so that when Brendan gets a link back to this, he can jump right to this point in the video on YouTube and see what we said and replay it. Here we go. This is Prestige Dynasty Worldwide. I like that name. I like that name. 12-team, 1 quarterback, start 9. PPR with a full point extra for the tight end premium. So 1 point per reception, a full extra point to 2 points for the tight end. That'll come up. That'll come up. So tight ends become pretty valuable. Let's go with quarterbacks. Justin Herbert, Jalen Hurts, Tua Tagovailoa, Jalen Milroe. This is really solid. For a 1 quarterback league, we've got probably 2 guys that have realistic shots in any given year to be a top 5 quarterback. We don't have for sure studs. I think Justin Herbert has been QB2 before. I think it was his 2nd year in the league. He threw like 40 touchdowns or 39 touchdowns and was QB2. Someone can fact check me on that one. But it's been a minute since he's been up there. When Coach Harbaugh, Jim or John, whichever one is the coach of the Chargers, talks about Justin Herbert and says, I had a dream that I could make him MVP, I believe it. The talent is there. The system is there. The wide receivers are there. I believe Justin Herbert could win an MVP in the league in this setup. So we're feeling pretty good about Herbert. I also, if you've watched any of my videos this year, will take every chance I can to say, guys, the market is just down on Jalen Hurts. In his bad years where he's not starting full seasons because his team makes the playoffs and his offense isn't amazing, he's QB8 because he runs. I think the market just does not track with that. In his good years, Jalen Hurts is also QB2, QB3. These are 2 realistic shots at a top 5 quarterback, and we only have to start 1. I'm going to write this down as a very strong 3 on the rating for quarterback, just because we don't have a sure thing stud. People aren't trading for Jalen Hurts at his production rate, but we have 2 really good options. We can make some moves here if we feel like we need to and just go like, hey, I'm just going to roll with Jalen Hurts. And maybe we move Justin Herbert. Unsure. We'll take a look at this team. Well, let's go to running backs. Bijan, Bucky, Kyron, Derrick Henry, Zach Charbonnet, Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, all realistic contributors. This is feeling like this. The way that I would make this like a slam dunk 4 would be, what's this, 12-team, start 9, would be if the second running back here was Genty. That would be a 4, which is why I'm writing a 3 down for running backs. I do like to give a gauge of like, hey, this is a 3. Here's what a 4 would look like. So you can feel what the different levels are, what the different levels would be. Derrick Henry, great starter for you this year. It's not going to surprise me if he's top 12 again. If he falls off and is top 20, that's still useful in a league like this. And I think this is the team that can take that risk. Kyron Williams, I mean, what's the realistic projection for snap share between Kyron and Bucky in this year? I think it's still going to be like a 60-40 split in terms of Kyron leading the way. I don't know that there's that many years or situations in the NFL where we track with a team going from they have their starter, they drafted another guy, the starter keeps the job. That's what Kyron and Blake Corum. And then the second guy just continuously eats in until he fully takes over. And Kyron is still on the team, but then not doing anything. So what we were looking at last year, the snap share between Kyron Williams and Blake Corum was never really worse than 60-40. And for a long time, it was 70-30 in favor of Kyron. So even if it's just a 60% snap share for Kyron Williams, I still like him to be top 12. There's a team that can very effectively run the ball in the red zone. Last year, it was a lot of Devontae Adams in the red zone. That all is fluky. So it wouldn't surprise me if it went back to a big touchdown year for Kyron Williams. Maybe Corum still gets some, but I'm still a Kyron Williams guy. And then in a similar situation, I really like Bucky Irving as a very solid RB2 for your team. Going into last year, I know there was hype. Hey, Bucky Irving is going to be top 10. He'll get 70% of the snaps, and he'll be like top 8 upside running back. I don't know that that ceiling is still there, but the market has cooled off on Bucky Irving so much so that I think he's still undervalued. So I like Bucky Irving here. I don't know that he's going to go back to being a top 8 running back, but we're not paying for him like he is or thinking of him the way that he is. So we're feeling really strong at running back. Wide receivers, Neighbors, Rice, and then this is where we may have some weaknesses on the team. Michael Wilson had a good fantasy finish last year. I don't know that it's something I'm going to count on to repeat. Terry McLaurin, do we get a bounce back year, like a final ride off into the sunset for a much older player? He spent a lot of last year injured, which is something that happens with older players. Like maybe this is the final year for Terry and he's like healthy. It wouldn't surprise me. And we've seen stuff, patterns like that before, but maybe we look to add another wide receiver here for this team. This is feeling like 2. Depending on your league, it's hard to move Neighbors. It's hard to move Rice. I like both of these guys as talents. If you had like points per crime for Rashee Rice, like that would be great. But that's just a small joke for right now. To make me laugh, points per crime is not a thing in most fantasy leagues. So that's not really going to help you. If I'm projecting the next couple of years for Rashee Rice, I think he's on the Chiefs this year. And then franchise tag next year. They're not looking to extend him. He doesn't really get a 5th-year option. He was a 2nd-round player. I think we're okay here. We've got good long-term value in Malik Neighbors, but we may want to add one other contending piece. The full point tight end premium, we've got Gadsden, we've got AJ Barner, new offensive coordinator coming over from the 49ers. I could see Barner take on a bigger role. I do like Gadsden enough, but I got to call this one the way the market has it. This is probably like a 2 at best at tight end, but I think we're good enough to contend. I think we're good enough to compete with what we have at tight end specifically. For your future picks, no first this year, no first next year. I do see that in the team. Like a lot of the running backs, it's kind of like where those picks possibly have gone. I'm not trying to guess where you traded, but when I look at a team and I see, well, you don't have any future picks, I will then double back and look at the roster and go like, and I don't see where they went. I don't see that value there. I do see that value here. So I do think there was some good trades made to move those firsts, and now it's working for you this year. But for your future picks, like if we don't have firsts for a while, this is feeling like a 1. A 2 is typically if you have your own picks and nothing else going forward, or just like a regular set amount. 1 first, 1 second for the next couple of years. But we don't have that. If we look at how you fit within the rest of the league, what we have here is just scoring projections for the players, and then we break that down based on the lineup that your league requires. So 12 team, 1 quarterback, we got to get to 9 starters. You're at the top. This is a tight-knit group. This is a pretty tight grouping where there's not a ton of scoring difference here. Like if I had to guess, it wouldn't surprise me if this was a recent startup. I don't know that maybe you're 1 to 2 years in. I'm sure I'm not going to bet my career on that being correct, but this is about the way a startup looks like coming out of the draft, pretty tightly together. All 12 teams feel like they could contend. And that's about what I would say here. If we're looking at future value, just middle of the pack, which is fine. You really just don't want to fall into the bottom tier of like, we don't have any dynasty value. The fun of fantasy is like, hey, we don't know what's going to happen. So this dynasty value can look very different next year based on the players and how they perform. So for contending this year, I could see possibly like a retooling situation next year if things go really badly. If Derrick Henry retires, if Terry McLaurin retires, if Michael Wilson turns back into a pumpkin, then we're looking pretty short for players and we wouldn't have first round pick in 2027 to bring them back, like to get you back up to snuff. But I think we might be able to find ways around that. Like the clear option for me would be Justin Herbert moved for a wide receiver. We're in a one quarterback league, but that's probably a lot of the trades that I look at here are going to be Herbert to get a wide receiver. And I don't know that I'm looking for that much back in terms of quarterback. So kind of just going one for one, or Herbert and Michael Wilson for a much better wide receiver, or Herbert and Torrey Horton for a much better wide receiver is really what I would be looking at. And then just riding with Jalen Hurts. Unless there's someone in your league who's like me who would pay for Jalen Hurts, and then I'd be looking to do probably a bit of a down tier from both of those guys to get more wide receivers. So I think what we're going to end up with here is like, we're contending this year. We're in that mix. We're at the top of the pile, and we're probably contending next year because we have pieces here that will just go up in value. Like Zach Charbonnet will get healthy again and can contend for you this year. This could be something that you end up moving on from throughout the year. We're unsure, but going into the season, what deals am I looking to make? I think we're okay with Gadsden as our tight end. I would be looking at, I'm open to moving Rashee Rice. I'm not sure if you've shopped him to see like, hey, what does the market for Rashee Rice look like in your specific league? Some leagues, you don't get anything for it. Some leagues, you can still get about 2 first-round picks for him. This may be someone we end up holding. We'll draw up some trades involving Rice to give you a gauge of like, here's where I would consider moving him, and then the rules that I would have for myself if I was. Like, I'm only moving Rice if I'm getting paid at the top end of the market, and I'm also like converting Torrey Horton to a better wide receiver, for example. Other trades that we're going to look at, possibly, I mean, we'll build out some trades for Bijan because you don't have your own firsts. We'll look at like, hey, what does it look like if we move on from Bijan? And it's going to be deals following that similar rule. I'm only moving Bijan if it helps me turn Torrey Horton into a sure thing in terms of production, or Terry McLaurin into a more sure option, or I'm moving Michael Wilson at the top end of his market and getting more sure things at production. So I'll have write-ups for each of those trades, and that'll be the general rule that I would have for myself if I'm moving Bijan. But some of that is just, we're going to check the market and see if someone is willing to overpay us to help us get ahead of any sort of veteran issues that we could have in the next year. But I don't think they're very pressing. If we lose Derrick Henry, if we lose Terry McLaurin, it's not going to be the end of the world. You could then next year decide to down tier from Bijan to fill out this roster more and probably still be in contention. And then you'd have your own 28 and 29 firsts to keep going. I'll add that I probably don't want to move any more firsts. We don't have any this year. I'd be really happy to move the 212 and 312 for anything. So we'll put together deals like that too. Like kind of 27-second 212 and Michael Wilson just get me a much better wide receiver rather than taking a gamble on getting someone that hits at those ranges. That would be what I would be looking to do. Is there anything else jumping out? I mean, let's take a look at some of these lower contending rosters for players, like just quick hits on veterans. DeAndre Swift would be someone that I might try to grab from this team, but it looks like they might be trying to contend. It's hard to gauge with something like this. So if they've already got your first, maybe you could be sending them some picks for DeAndre Swift. He sometimes goes pretty cheap. We might look at like David Montgomery. I'm just thinking of, can we turn these seconds into production? Where you have the 212, 312 is what I'm spitballing here. Maybe like DK Metcalf as another wide receiver to help fill out your wide receiver room. Devontae Adams or Cortland Sutton. I think Sutton is still going to play and be all right for 1 to 2 more years. Chris Godwin so there's options here. As we're looking through these lower producing teams, we could maybe grab Godwin. We could see how this guy feels about Zay Flowers, who I'm in on. And we'll take a look at some trades involving those players. Also with David Montgomery. So if we wound up with a deal where we got Montgomery and Godwin, that helps for the contending this year without actually hurting your future success very much. So we'll build some of those trades together. You'll be able to check them out on the My Advice tab. Thank you very much, Brendan, for sending this one in. I haven't seen any notes from you in the TikTok chat. I think you were in there before. but you'll be able to check in again on Wednesday as well with any follow-ups. Let's see where we're at on the trade queue. We've been going for 2 hours, 21 minutes. Let's take a look at trades. The queue says 4. When I refresh it, no, it doesn't say 4. No, it does also say 4. But I think we covered one of them. I think we're at 3. So we'll wrap these 3. We'll hit these 3 trades, and then we will go to bread. We'll get to the end of this. Ooh. Which side of this deal do you guys want to be on? Ty Flack, Sports Chatter, 10-team Superflex, start 9. David Montgomery or Charbonnet and a 4th. If I have David Montgomery, so this, oh, Brendan is here listening. Very good, very good. For this deal, Calvatron says Montgomery side of contending. I mean, their roster is here. We'll scan it. I feel like this league is called Beer Leaguers. This is a team that just doesn't have any youth at receiver. This team might be able to contend. They've got, let's just read through it super quick, because I think you'll get a gauge of, like, it's pretty good everywhere except receiver. Caleb Williams and Dak Prescott in a super league, in a super flex. Tua as a third option. Running backs are Genty, Chase Brown, Saquon Barkley, and then David Montgomery. Wide receivers is where it gets weak. It's Mike Wilson, DK Metcalf, Mike Evans, Cortland Sutton, Jalen McMillan of the Bucks, Jalen Coker, Brandon Ayuk. But then they have Kyle Pitts and Gadsden and Stowers. Like, this team is coming out of a rebuild and kind of ready to go. They've got 3 27 firsts. So can we move 2 of these firsts and build out receivers? If we don't want to go for it this year, then yeah, it's Charbonnet. And then we find a deal to move on from Saquon Barkley. We find a deal to move on from Mike Evans. If I'm looking at my team and saying, I don't want to contend this year, I'm taking the Charbonnet side for sure. And I'm not sure that I'm not positive that I'm sending Charbonnet to bring in Montgomery. I think I'm just staying on the Charbonnet side. I'm gonna call this one even and say, like, I could see both sides. If I had this team, I don't know that I would be sending David Montgomery away. I think I might just send a couple first and see about contending this year. But if they don't want to, I understand it. Double checking that I'm not missing anything coming through on the site. All right, we got Gilly Goose, and then we'll hit the chat on this one. Oh, it's big. 4 for 4. Gilly Goose, 8-team Superflex, start 12. Closer to a 12-team start 8, but with some of the quarterback values changed. How are we feeling here? One side, Ken Walker, George Kittle, 27 first, a 28 second. For James Cook, Mac Jones, a 27 third, a 27 fourth. This is feeling like the Ken Walker side. Ken Walker and something to go to James Cook. Ken Walker in a second get you to James Cook. Ken Walker in a first definitely gets you over James Cook. And then we're looking at Kittle for Jones, a third and a fourth. I'm not sure that I'm seeing any of the vision to not have the Ken Walker side. Yeah, I'm fine moving on from James Cook. And this is Gilly Goose sending James Cook and a bunch of bits and bobs to get Ken Walker, a first, a second, and George Kittle. Yeah, I'm taking that. I'm taking that. I don't even necessarily love Ken Walker, but I think the follow-up moves there are so easily doable. Let's check in. Brendan, who we just did the team review, said, won the last 2 titles, just looking for advice to stay on top. Appreciate the help. Yeah, I think you're not going to dip. It's possible. Like, is the 3-peat possible? Yeah. Is it very clearly happening with the team that we just went over? No, but it's a very good team. And yeah, I should have realized that you won the championship. You have the 212 and the 312. I'd be fine moving on from the 212 and the 312 to keep things going. You have a good enough team to, I mean, Michael Wilson probably helped you hit that championship. And then other stuff to go for. I think we'll fall back on what we said. With we got SCUS or SCSU 06 with a trade popping up. Texas, I do see your, actually, we said we would cover some of the ones from the chat. So we'll jump back to this in a second. Like Harry Tubbs, do you think it's a really bad idea to draft Bowers in round 2 and Josh Allen in round 3 in a normal 12-man ESPN league? I really like the idea of having positional advantages, but don't want to sabotage my draft. I don't think you get that strong of a positional advantage with Josh Allen, Harry Tubbs. He definitely is the most likely to be the number 1 quarterback, but last year, the number 2 and number 3 quarterbacks were it was like Drake May and Matt Stafford. And Drake May went like round 11 and Stafford was undrafted. I don't know that there's a very clear positional advantage that you get from having Josh Allen in round 3. Brock Bowers in round 2? Yes, because there's not nearly as many tight ends that are easy to find and reliable starters. But quarterbacks in a 1 quarterback league, you can easily find a top 8 quarterback or like a top 10 quarterback on waivers most weeks. So you're not actually getting a huge positional advantage by having the best quarterback in a 1 quarterback league because they're so easy to find replacement level guys. Like even before he was injured last year, Daniel Jones was free and was nullifying QB advantages. The person who paid up for Josh Allen was just losing out as a whole on value compared to the person who was starting Stafford, the person who was starting Drake May, the person who was starting Daniel Jones for a while. And that happens like every year. So with quarterbacks, it's typically not worth it. Most years with tight ends, it ends up being worth it because there aren't as many tight ends that we feel good about going into the year. But this year, there's also kind of a lot of tight ends. So it gets closer to quarterbacks where we don't really want to reach for them. Now we'll go to SCSU. And then we'll hit some chats again. Ooh, a Justin Jefferson trade. The notes here say, I just made this trade to get Jefferson. So when we look at this team, they have Justin Jefferson. It's a 12-team, 1 quarterback start 8. It's a shallower league. Justin Jefferson is going to have a lot of value in this league. Ibuka, a 27 first, and Trey Harris for Jefferson. I don't think you cooked yourself. With the roster that you have, maybe. The price here, it's not too much to pay. The price is not too much. Ibuka, a 27 first, and then Trey Harris just does not really have any value in a 12-team, 1 quarterback start 8. Jefferson is really valuable. Did you cook yourself with the roster? Where now your quarterback or your wide receivers are Jefferson, Concepcion, Coker, Ayamanor, Zachariah Branch. Like, could be. But this is also a situation where you are up tiering to Jefferson. If he bounces back, do you get a value rise and then free yourself up to make other moves? Or could you move? Yeah, I think, I don't know that this is I don't know that I would have combined assets with the team that you have. The team is on the screen here. It's like in a 1 quarterback league, the quarterbacks are Kyler, Cam Ward, running backs, Hampton, Irving, Kyron Williams, Monungai. Like we have running backs, wide receivers, or excuse me, quarterback a little bit weak. Wide receivers, we now have Jefferson, but then not much behind it. Maybe Casey Concepcion's really good for the Browns. But I don't see like a big fleshed out team to really make it through a season here, or the pieces to go get more. Like you don't have a 27 first. You don't have a 28 first. Your next first round pick is in 2029. And there's likely a lot of missing pieces at wide receiver. I may have tried to hold on to that 27 first, Ibuka, and then done other pivots to add value. I don't know that, I mean, I'm going to say like in a vacuum, the Jefferson side is probably better, but I don't know that I would have done it unless I have a follow-up move here to now move on from Justin Jefferson. That's probably the way to say this. With the roster that you have, like Jefferson probably has more value and does actually free you up to do more for your rebuild. And it's just taken me a while to get to this conclusion. But I don't know that I want to take this team and try to run it to the playoffs. Let's see. Ooh, Tonio said my fantasy goat is back. Thank you, boss. Thank you, boss. Colton said, am I taking Tyson or Lemon at the 103? I've taken both. I've taken both. When we get into a situation like that, Colton, like 103, is it Tyson or is it Lemon? No one could tell you. They're both really good prospects on hopefully good offenses. So it's hard to say. Dahl said, just traded Breece Hall for Olave. Thoughts? You can submit it right on the site. You can submit that right on the site, Dahl. Same thing with Ty Flack. Amon's got a trade as well. Alex is saying for some reason I like Tyson better, but it's a coin flip. I think the market generally likes Tyson better. And that's probably what I would default to, Alex. I look at, if it's 1-for-1, I just look at Dynasty Startup ADP on dynastydatalab.com. They just show you startup ADP, and Tyson's going like a round ahead. So I will typically go with Tyson because I could just trade him for more than I could with Lemon. Texas said, got a trade offer. Did you submit it on the site, Texas? I see one from SCSU that we just went through. E-Dog and Dem Pickle. Let's get to E-Dog. Texas saying in a full PPR. Texas, we don't read them from the chat. We do them through the site so that you don't have to type out the scoring where it just says full PPR. Here, we've got a question in a 10-team start 7, which is a very shallow league. And that's definitely going to change the values here. Am I moving Cam Ward in a 29 first for Brock Purdy in a 1 quarterback start 7? No. And if I have Brock Purdy, I'll take the Cam Ward in the first. And Crashy Rice, not a bad name. They've got Brock Purdy as their 3rd QB. I'm pointing for the folks on TikTok. On Twitch and on YouTube, we can see the rosters. There's just more space. This is a very shallow league. They have Jaden Daniels. They have Justin Herbert. It is very unlikely in this 10-team start 7 that they're ever going to be using Brock Purdy. Would I send him away for a first in Cam Ward? Yeah, because I think you're just getting a lot here. Even if you never use Cam Ward, you get that 29 first, and then we start packaging that up and moving it. This is a good use of Brock Purdy. You're never going to start him. You don't need to start him. You send him away and you get plenty of value. If anything, I would try to get a different deal where I'm not getting Cam Ward back. But that's just saying, like, is there a better offer? This one's good, but is there a better offer? And there would be one without Cam Ward. In a 10-team 1 quarterback, it's just unlikely that we're ever going to use him. Zach Mason, turn around and flip him? Yeah, definitely if you can. Definitely if you can flip him. But yeah, I'm okay with this because I don't know that I would value at this time next year, like we're not starting Brock Purdy the whole year. And then we have a 29 first, which will have gone up in value, and another player that we could probably move. I'm fine doing that. We got Dem Pickle. Dylan, I'm Dem Pickle, by the way, he says. Let's put it on the screen. Ooh, it's big. Okay, let's go through it. And as always, chime in the chat. Which side of this do you want to be on? It's a 10-team start 10. Full point tight end premium, or full point PPR, and a full point tight end premium. So when we're looking at Colson Loveland, like that is a big piece in a trade like this. We got Jamar Chase, Brian Thomas, Bryce Young on one side. It is super flex. For Colson Loveland, JSN, a 28 first, second, and a 28 first, a 27 second, and a third. I think I'm taking the Loveland side. People like Jamar Chase more than JSN. I do too. It's not a ton. Brendan says everybody loves their Loveland. It helps that it's the full point extra for a tight end premium. And I don't think this one's like that close. I think I'm taking Colston Loveland side here. Dylan, you had the Chase side. You moved Loveland. $28 first for Bryce Young is like right in the range. Maybe you're sending a first and a third for Bryce Young. So then JSN to get up to Jamar, but you go from Colston Loveland to Brian Thomas. That's a big dip to me. I feel like we're buying high on Brian Thomas on this deal. I like Brian Thomas. I like him to bounce back. I think we're buying high on him, which could work out for you. We could get, what is it, late July right now? We could be 2 months from now, late September, and say, man, Brian Thomas really came back. I don't know that you got the value on it, though, because you paid for him as though he came back. Dylan says you have Bowers. I think you still, this is one where you just could have gotten more. You could have gotten more from someone else. Where I would have stayed with JSN and Loveland and then found, I mean, it's a tight end premium, a big tight end premium. You probably could have been starting Loveland every week or moved him for more. That's just my thoughts. I mean, I don't know the future. Let's see where we're at on, we've covered the trades. We've covered the team reviews. Let's check and make sure we're not missing stuff from the chat. Brandon Etheridge says, my league, they're selling high on Colston Loveland. Well, I'm always selling everyone. Q said, who's the 101? Is it Gibbs or Bijan? I like Jamar Chase at 101. I like a lot of the running backs. I think there's more running backs in rounds 5 and 6 that have big upside. So I'm typically just taking the wide receiver and going with the other way. Dylan says, dang, thank you. Hey, Dylan, the thank yous always go out to you guys for submitting your questions. You might submit a team review if you feel like it helps seeing the whole team. Hey, Dylan, I won't stop you. I won't stop you. But it's up to you. We appreciate every team review that came through today. Thank you, guys. We appreciate every trade question that came through. We will be back on Wednesday. I'm going to refresh this one more time. If we do the full team refresh, I think we've hit every team review. I have had situations where I saw that a team review came in right as we ended it. We got the final trade that came through. This is going to be the final one for Jess because I've seen this name, Jess Higgins. It reminds me of someone I used to know named Jess. This is the final trade. We'll bring it up on here. Oh, it's big. It's beefy. The notes here say, I'm looking to move off Jefferson. I think getting Tet and a first is worth it. I think that's in the range. You want to move off the risk of Kyler and Worthy for a higher upside player in Bucky and a safer QB in Darnold. Okay. Seems like fine thought process. I'm also giving this manager his second round pick back, and you're getting a first. How are we feeling on this one? Like, if we break it down the way you said, and I think I'm going to be close to feeling the same way, Jess. Jefferson for Tet and a first. I could see that working. That's a fine down tier to me. Maybe we get a big bounce back season from Justin Jefferson, and I still wouldn't hate the price there. Kyler going over to Sam Darnold. Like, I think there's upside in Kyler. But if you don't want to remove the risk, I'm okay with it. Alex is saying you like the Darnold side. I think I do. I think I'm okay with the Darnold side. I like the upside. I mean, I kind of like Xavier Worthy, but I don't but I also like a first round. I think I'm okay with this deal. Looking at the team, like you would then go from Brock Purdy, Cam Ward, and Kyler to Purdy, Darnold, and Kyler, or Purdy, Darnold, and Cam Ward. Sending away a second round pick. I like getting good value on the second round pick. I'm okay with this. I'm okay with this. The first tips it for Alex. I mean, it's Justin Jefferson. He's still good. Where that would be a holdup if you decided like, hey, I don't want to move on from Jefferson, or if you found a different deal to move off of Kyler Xavier in a second for something else. Like I could see myself liking that more, but this is not. I wouldn't hate doing this deal. So I feel okay with it. If Tet hits, the first is very tradable. You're contending, says Alex. I mean, you can always then flip this first too. Flip this first with Eli Stowers for a better tight end. Flip this first with Josh Downs for a better wide receiver and feel like you came away doing well. Or flip this first for a running back. Well, you're getting Bucky here. But flip this first for Chase Brown with Chase Brown for another running back. You've got Carnell Tate with big upside here. Yeah. I don't have any problem with this move. Other than maybe, I mean, I'll stop going back for that. I like both sides. I am okay with both sides. That wraps it up, gang. We said Jess would be the last one. I don't see any other in the queue. Leftover prune. Do I think BTJ will have a comeback season? I do. I think he spent a lot of last season hurt. Does he get all the way back to wide receiver 5 in PPR? I don't know that. I don't know that I would bet anything on that. But a comeback based on where he was last year? Yeah. I am expecting that. Checking the chat. I think we covered everything other than trade questions. Oh, Jonathan Fisher, we will say like Tet and a first equals JJ. Yeah. Darnold and Bucky over at Kyler side. I like it. John Fisher kind of agreeing with where we had wound up. Thank you guys for watching with us. Clear this overlay out of here and we'll wrap it up. We will be back Wednesday, 7:30 Central Time. We're covering trades, covering team reviews. If you want to get yours in there, do it. Braceball Cameron, what's going on? Sorry I missed this one. I'll get you on the next one. We appreciate anyone for watching, so there's never an apology. Thank you, guys. We're going to wrap it up. I need to add an end screen because we're just going to be clicking end.